rainy most of the weekend, or at least have a good chance of it. So might be a little bit different up here. I don't think it's supposed to rain as much in this area the next couple of days. You know, we got a poll question out today. It was simply this: should we let Austin Elaine talk wrestling on ESPN 690 here on a Friday from 3 to 6? And by the way, that wasn't like, will he talk the entire show about it? I'm talking about a segment or 5 minutes or 1 minute or, well, it's a really close vote. 118 votes so far. 45% say yes, 55% say no.
No, this is absolute collusion, because let's go back to how you worded this vote here. You said, okay, the question today is simple. Should we let A-Train 92 talk wrestling on ESPN 690 Jax from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., which made it seem like you wanted me to talk for 3 hours about wrestling, and I think that's what the people that voted thought too as well.
Yeah, well, I didn't mean that. So I just clarified on social media to try to get some more voting in, and maybe that will skew the other way for you. But I said just for a segment or a couple minutes. That's all it is. It was a big night in wrestling last night.
Huge night in wrestling. I mean,
don't
honestly,
give it away. We're not talking about it right now until the votes come in.
Fair enough. And I'm surprised that you actually showed up to work today, because we got to talk wrestling. We got to talk UFC. I mean, I don't know. I guess we can go Jalen Ramsey or some full stuff too as well. But
yeah, we might be able to get into Jalen Ramsey a little bit. Again, we already spent a lot of time on him, but Jalen Ramsey, this one from the outside. The NFL Network had me scratching my head last night. I was watching, I think they do their All Access show, and I love NFL Network. I love what they do. I love a lot of the personalities. Heck, we just caught up with LaDainian Tomlinson last week, and I liked what he had to say. We played it on Tuesday, talking about Leonard Fournette, and I thought he had a decent pulse of the Jags situation. And then what he said last night was like, what are you talking about? You know, just though you'll see the topic. We're going to get into it in just a couple minutes, but just some of the details and the observations after they made their initial thought. What the initial thought was okay in my mind, I was just like, man, it's just amazing how people outside of Jacksonville don't get it. Mm-hmm. You see that a lot, too. They just don't get it. They don't really have a good pulse of Jacksonville. And I guess that's the case. Do I have a good pulse of what's going on in Buffalo? You know, maybe not, but I'm not a national guy, and it's really not my job to.
Yeah, no, for sure. And speaking of not really having a finger on the pulse, per se, I'll tell you what, man, these mock drafts haven't really hit the Jacksonville home run like I hope they would either with Todd McShay and Mel Kiper. Have you seen the latest mock draft coming out from, I think it's Todd McShay's 2.0.
McShay as Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
And something I want to talk about today a little bit later on is like, okay, we were all thinking quarterback. We're thinking running back. We're thinking what a good team player you are. Because I literally have just snot dripping down my nose, and you got me a Kleenex.
I got you, man.
So now you can talk a little bit, too. But Jeffrey Simmons, were you shocked at that?
Obviously, yeah, because if you look at Jeffrey Simmons, I mean, the biggest thing tied to his name is the fact that, you know, there was some kind of domestic violence case that he had against him, which obviously is a giant red flag to anybody. So I don't like that off the bat. The dude can definitely play football. There's no doubt about it. That's the reason why he's mocked in the first round. But also what I don't like about it is the fact that he's predominantly a 4-3 technique. And they got Taven Bryan last year to do the exact same thing. So I understand, like, we probably aren't going to keep Malik Jackson. You know, we'll see with Marcel Darius. I mean, he was a big player this past year, but, you know, money is of the essence. So I have a hard time believing that they're going to draft another defensive tackle first round and then put him with Taven Bryan. Just doesn't make much sense to me at all. Because you're not going to put Taven Bryan back out at the 5. That didn't work. We saw this past season. He does not belong in a 5 technique. He belongs in a 3 technique.
Yeah, and if you're not going to put him anywhere but the 3 technique, you're not even going to try to do anything else with him. I think that's crystal clear now. But it is something we'll bring up a little bit later. I want to ask this question, so think about it a little bit as you drive along on a Friday or listen along on a Friday. Okay, we're all locked into either quarterback or, in my opinion, wide receiver or tight end. Mm-hmm. But what if that's not the case for the Jags? Wide receivers are not plentiful in this draft in terms of a top 10 pick. Tight end, top 10? I mean, nobody really does that, and it doesn't have this kind of feel to it. It's more of a 18 through 30 kind of pick. Mm-hmm. So if you trade back, tight end comes into play. Well, there's 2 positions, offensive line or defensive line. You don't need corners. We know that.
Not at all.
Linebacker you could also. So out for a linebacker in the mix. So from a secondary position, and again, that's kind of a big time. As a 7th pick overall, from a value standpoint, linebacker doesn't seem to make sense.
And I think we're going to be okay at linebacker. I mean, that's not a dying need right now for this team.
No. The only thing people would say is, okay, what if they did try to deal Telvin or do something with Telvin, and then that comes into play. So you're really looking at the strength of this draft is on the defensive front. Okay? Do you go get at number 7? If you, again, we're going to go with the premise here, and we're going to discuss a little bit later in the show. So here are the parameters. You can't pick a tight end, a receiver, a quarterback with that 7th pick. Where are you going to next? Is it definitely an offensive lineman, a right tackle, right guard type of situation? Or do you go get, if you think a Jeffrey Simmons is a blockbuster player, do you do what the New York Giants did 10, 12 years ago, and that what had people scratching their heads and say, why are they picking another defensive lineman? Why are they picking a defensive end? We already have Michael Strahan. We already have this.
But guess what? They also had an offense in place as well when they did that.
They did. I was up there at that time. Well, they did have a quarterback.
Yeah.
Their offensive line was kind of young, and I don't think was as good as it ended up being. But they stayed together for a while and then got good back in those Giants days. But I clear as day remember when they picked, Euban Yura and those kind of guys. Justin Tuck, I think.
Yeah.
People were like, what are they doing? Well, but it helped them win 2 Super Bowls.
No, agreed. But that was kind of a luxury that they had because they had the receivers. I mean, I think they had Plaxico Burress before he had his whole incident.
Yeah, I don't know if they did have like Jeremy Shockey at the time.
They had Shockey. They also had Kevin Boss too, who's kind of like he was
they had
for a couple
Toomer.
Years. Exactly. So they had the other positions kind of filled up. So that's what I call a luxury pick. And that's kind of what I saw from Taven Bryan this past year, where they're looking, at how the offense and defense are operating. Like, listen, our defense is all world. Our offense with Blake Bortles is going to be all right. We have the emergence of Lee playing the one spot, and then, hopefully some good rookies come in. So let's go and pick another, defensive tackle / end. And use it as a luxury pick. Well, we saw what happened there. I mean, the whole thing fell apart, and now all of a sudden Taven Bryan's looking like maybe he wasn't that great of a pick for the first round. So I can get the point where you're confident in the fact that this guy coming in, Jeffrey Simmons, is going to be a great player, and he's shown it on film. Don't get me wrong, but like I said, there's the red flag, and we also need a lot more things. I mean, let me ask you this, Brent: would you be more comfortable right now getting like a new offensive tackle or another defensive tackle? Like, what does this team need more, do you think, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think from a need standpoint, this is where you always go, right? Need or best player available. Yep. I think from a need standpoint, I could say depending what they do with Parnell.
Yeah, because we don't even know that yet.
But I'm not picking a right guard, I don't think, it is my 7th pick. I think I'd rather have a stud defensive lineman than a right guard. That's where it gets a little iffy. If you keep Parnell, well, then you don't think you need a right tackle.
But we don't know what Cam Robinson's going to be like either coming off that injury. So say we get another tackle, well, let's just have another tackle just in case. Say Cam doesn't respond well, he's still having some issues. Well, then you can plug and play that guy at left tackle. So, we have to keep that in mind too, where our offensive line is not set by any means yet.
It's a good debate, but I'll tell you why it's not absolutely ridiculous to pick the defensive front either, and that's why I think some people have mocked defensive linemen to the Jaguars, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But coming up next, the crazy comments from NFL Network. I want to talk about it. You'll hear them if you haven't heard them yet. Next on ESPN 690 on a Friday afternoon in Jacksonville, Florida.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
From the NBA to the NFL, we've got you covered. The worldwide leader in sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
David Lane talks about his experience with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
I've been active my whole life. I grew up here in Jacksonville, played a lot of athletic sports. Over time, my body kind of broke down and I wasn't able to perform some of the activities that I used to. I've had 4 different surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic. I think the staff at Southeast Orthopedic is second to none. The doctors are great. The therapy is second to none. It's been a great experience.
Get your body moving again with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Find out more at se-ortho.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau. If you've received a letter from the IRS and can't pay them, things can get bad quickly. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your wages, and place liens against everything you own. If this is you, contact J. David Tax Law, a local firm right here in Jacksonville. Your first step to stop IRS harassment is a no-cost consultation. They explain exactly your options and how they will resolve your tax issue. Only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you, and fee payment plans are affordable for everyone. Get the protection you deserve. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away. The fastest way to get started is to call 904-507-4777. 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com. The number again, 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to. Nope. I'm sure you've got a perfectly good excuse. Kids, work. I get it. You're busy. So what better time than now? Let's begin. Raise one finger if you're a man. Ladies, none yet. Oh, count in your head if you're driving. Now, 3 more fingers for everyone over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40, 1 more if you're not physically active, another finger if anyone in your family has type 2 diabetes, another if you've got high blood pressure. If you're overweight, raise another finger, 2 if you're very overweight, and 3 if you're really overweight. You've just taken the world's first audio prediabetes test. And if you're holding up 5 or more fingers, visit doihaveprediabetes.org or talk to your doctor. There's no excuse because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Oye, amigo, it is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Did James Harrison ever tell Ben Roethlisberger to put down the beers and get in a little better shape?
Ben's in good shape.
He is?
Ben looks good.
If you say he looks good, he looks good. That's the deal. We think he runs like a skyscraper, but if you say he looks good, that's fine by us. We'll let it go.
That's a good thing he ain't paid to run. He paid to throw.
The Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Hey, welcome back here on a Friday afternoon. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Justin Kuzart. Hey, Kuz, check out my shirt.
No, well, is it the one Nicole got you?
Yeah, thank you, Nicole.
I was going to wear one of mine too, but me and Kuz obviously are on the best of terms right now.
No,
so
but I already had a couple of,
continues.
I had some compliments on this thing already today.
That's good. How does it feel?
It feels wonderful. Perfect size.
Yep.
It's good, man.
Looks like we got some moisture wicking technology, right?
I thought you were going to say I was sweating already.
No. I'm just saying, like, it looks like it's like a dry fit or something like that.
It's it's that new. I think this was an Under Armour one.
Clutch.
Yeah, it is Under Armour. So,
cool.
You know what's funny about that? Like, what kind of shirt is that? A T-shirt? Is that kind of like a light, good feeling kind of T-shirt?
Yeah, it is. So today I'm rocking the Old Navy collection.
There you go.
I was gonna actually wear a V-neck for Adam Levine, bro. I'm not lying. I actually put it on in the mirror. I'm like, this looks ridiculous. Couldn't do it. So, and just rocking a black T-shirt. You can tell if you ask all my friends. Usually I just wear a black T-shirt. I mean, the shirts that you've seen that I've been wearing to the show the past couple weeks, I haven't worn in like years. So usually I'm just a black T-shirt kind of guy. Then obviously these shorts are a little more aggressive that I'm wearing right now.
Yeah, man. It looks like you're headed to Key Largo or something.
Talking about my Tiger shorts I got on here. Yeah. So rocking some Tiger Muay Thai shorts, also from Old Navy.
And
so.
He's not talking about Tiger Woods. He's talking about like the real tiger.
Tigers that will eat your face off if you're not careful. So,
but back to the shirts for a moment.
Yeah.
Like I have now become such a shirt snob.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Where I can't wear that 100% cotton shirt.
No, get that out of my face.
I feel it's one of those deals. Things are funny to me. I don't know if everybody's like this, but if I don't get a haircut, like after like 3 weeks, I feel like I weigh 25 extra pounds.
Yeah.
I just don't feel good.
Yeah.
It's in that cotton shirt makes me feel the same way. Like it feels like it weighs 10 pounds on me rather than all this dry fit stuff now. And even the dry fit, you got to be a little careful about. Dry fit, sweating in a dry fit, there's some styles that absolutely stink when you sweat in a dry fit. I don't know what it is about some of the material and some of the fabric in that, but it does. It makes you stink so bad. But the shirt like you're wearing right now,
Yeah, this
I
is like a
can't
nice
buy a different shirt
polyester
anymore.
blend. I think what I'm wearing right now, a little polyester coming at you. I'll tell you what, when it comes to 100% cotton, I completely agree with you. Especially because, like, you know, my body type, I'm pretty long and lanky, so I'll get a cotton shirt, and obviously it weighs 20 pounds, literally. I'll wear it one time, put it in the wash, and then after it washes, it's just like I look like, I guess you would say, like a lava lamp. You know, like it's just shapes. Like it doesn't go past my waist anymore. It's way too wide. So 100% cotton, absolutely not.
I love some of the responses I'm getting, by the way, to should we let Austin talk a few minutes about wrestling? 3 minutes is too much.
Yeah.
0. Sure, while you're in commercial, Witness Whiteside says, I really like that one. That was good. And then we are getting a lot of definitelys, too. So it's, we'll see where it ends up.
Well, once again, I think people are thinking that it's going to be the whole show about wrestling for 3 hours.
No.
There's nothing wrong with sprinkling a little wrestling on there.
No. I mean, listen,
people don't understand this is a big thing for our city. It really is.
I get that. I go back to my conversation we had yesterday. This is a new segment called I don't really care about a lot of this stuff, but people do. Yep. And I think that, by the way, that happens. Like, I would love to talk baseball more than we talk baseball, but I understand the listener doesn't want to hear about baseball for an hour. So maybe once in a while we'll talk about it for a few minutes. I feel like that about a lot of the stuff that is in our sports world, obviously dominated by football. So I don't mind leaning into a little MMA and a little wrestling, because I think there's an audience out there that doesn't really get it. So if you're passionate about it, I step out and learn a little bit about it, and I put it under the category of I don't really give a damn about it, but we're going to let you talk about it.
Well, speaking of under the category, you don't really give a damn, I got to ask you this question. I mean, you agree, and we'll talk about this a little later, but all elite wrestling is a big thing for Jacksonville, correct?
It's huge, yeah.
It could be the next big wrestling promotion. Well, you know, the first pay-per-view is going to be in Las Vegas in a couple months. Shoot me straight here, Brent. What are the odds that we expense that trip and go cover that wrestling thing for the city of Jacksonville and go see the show?
Wow.
In Las Vegas.
Slim to none, and Slim just left town.
All right, man. So not even a 1 in a million. It's literally no, probably not, nothing. Okay.
He didn't even give you one of those Dumb and Dumber, so you're saying there's a chance.
That's what I was hoping for. Like a 1 in a million I wouldn't even took, but no, Slim, and then Slim's out of town.
Listen,
so,
man, I'm trying to see if we can get to the combine still, all right? So maybe once we get through that, we'll see. Okay. Now, the one day, hopefully they'll have an event here at Daly's place or something.
Oh, for sure.
And we'll be there.
It's going to happen. Absolutely.
But we got you wrestlers, wrestling fans, MMA fans. Nobody's going to talk it like this guy can talk it. So maybe. We got to see how the vote plays out. It's only you got about a half hour left.
Well, I wish you would change the wording of it, but whatever, man. Let's just keep rolling with it.
By the way, what was the magic whiteboard today? What was the first one?
Yeah. You want to read that one?
An island is just an inverted lake.
Right?
It is. Yeah, I'm trying to think about it.
Hey, there ain't much to think about, man.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
There you go. So the 17th hole at TPC Sawgrass is just an inverted lake.
An inverted lake.
That's a new way to look at it.
Yep.
And somebody, here I go again. I got to really hone in on this thing. Joe Bloor. Got to always be careful with names. Wow, deep. Far Not Cali says MMA yes, wrestling no.
Okay.
Interesting. I kind of thought the two were.
Oh no, it's completely different.
Well, I understand the two are not alike. I'm just saying I feel like the audience is very similar.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, it really kind of is. I mean, we're talking about like the age demographics. I feel like maybe the younger generation, there's more of a draw to wrestling than there actually is MMA. And I feel like the older generation, especially with this fight coming up this weekend, is into MMA a little more.
Okay.
And then, granted, you know, it kind of blurs where both, like, the young generation could be into UFC as well. But I truly believe that the wrestling is kind of going to have a resurgence here with like, the younger generations.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, it's a big talk in baseball right now in terms of the demographics. The younger audience doesn't care, but the older audience really is still way into it, traditionalist, passionate about it. But I just thought those two, in a weird way, were kind of connected.
I just don't see a lot of 50-years being into wrestling, but there are 50-years that are into MMA.
I'm 41, and I know a lot of people in their early 40s that are into wrestling.
No, for sure.
You know, mid-40s. Yeah. That group that grew up on it like I did. But I think you're right. I think there's probably like a cutoff, maybe 45, 46 years old.
Yeah.
Above that probably doesn't care about wrestling.
Yep.
Because they didn't maybe that was before the Hulk Hogan days and Iron Sheik and all that,
Exactly.
you know, or they just weren't into it at that point.
Nice name dropping, by the way. Iron Sheik.
Dude, I watched Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Okay.
My sister loved wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, we watched it all the time.
Yep.
So I know it. I never kept up with it, and I'm still shocked that so many people do in a way. And I'm all, that's fine. I have no problem with it. Farnot Cali also says, if I'm taking a D lineman, it's a pass rusher, not a D tackle. I get you. And I do think the Jags are a little slim at pass rusher. They have Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah.
But what's behind him? And you want 8 guys in a rotation, and I don't think they have many true pass rushers.
Well, and that's the thing. You think of pass rusher, you think obviously of the mayor of Saxonville, but he's a 3 technique, you know, and sometimes he plays down in the nose. Like, he's not a defensive end per se. So, like, from the pass rusher standpoint, yeah, it would be nice to get like another edge guy is what you would call him.
Yeah. And I can't even say this name because I don't even know, but the next guy that comments, excuse me for not knowing the name or how to say it, if I'm taking a D lineman, it's a pass rusher, not a D tackle. Jags need a second pass rusher anyway. There we go. Yep. So back-to-back comments on that. Again, we're going to get into that a little bit more. But right now I want to get into the NFL Network, guys. We have a clip. It's about 90 seconds long, but I want you to listen. And when you listen along, kind of count to yourself how many things drive you nuts about this next 90 seconds.
Jacksonville Jaguars get a quarterback this offseason.
Okay.
Either Eli Manning or Nick Foles, or if they draft Kyler Murray, okay? How about Antonio Brown for Jalen Ramsey, okay? How about that? Because both guys we know are on the trade block, as they say. Jalen Ramsey as well.
on the trade block?
Well, there's talk about him not returning to Jacksonville because of some issues, just like with Antonio Brown. So why not trade for each other? You know, Antonio Brown goes to Jacksonville. He's going to play with a brand-new quarterback. And the Steelers have gotten it wrong at the quarterback position for years. Yeah. So solve the problem, trade for Jalen Ramsey, and get him in the black and gold.
That would be a blockbuster.
That would be a huge
Leo,
blockbuster.
You're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Because he's going to start something. Now it's going to be out there.
He's like, it's not going to happen, but I would love it. What do you think?
I want to see Stafford maybe go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know Jacksonville's looking for a quarterback, and I know Stafford is, you know, he's been there for a while. I've heard some rumblings that maybe him and Matt Patricia are maybe not getting along. Maybe they are, but Stafford, I would love to see him go to Jacksonville because, one, they got a great defense. They got weapons around them. There's a solid run game. And I feel like that could be a place for him where he could really flourish and finally get to the postseason and do some work and do some damage in the postseason.
What is Jacksonville going to send Detroit that makes that trade worth it for them? That is a quarterback.
A first round draft pick.
Which you have to use on a quarterback now.
A number 2.
Okay, we're not going real deep on this, apparently. We just like to see it happen.
They better give up everything.
Because of our boy there, Matt Stafford.
All right, that was NFL Network last night.
What?
And it was LaDainian Tomlinson and Reggie Bush. And now, again, this was dream trades, dream scenario. So they're playing up a dream, something that probably isn't likely, but dreaming it up. So, again, the premise of it I have no problem with. That's what happens. It's the silly season of the NFL already, and we talk about stuff like this. But, and I also don't, okay, if you want to say Jalen Ramsey and Antonio Brown, that's what I'd like to see. That's fine in a dream scenario if that's what you're picking, but don't say that he's on the trade block and all this stuff.
You've heard these rumblings.
Well, that happened last year during the year. The Jags immediately came out and said, I don't know where this report's coming from. It's not true. There was a whole to-do about it for days, and there's been no smoke since. It was an erroneous report. And I think the Jags had actually on game day morning came out and said, there's no truth to that. So, I mean, unless this is really a lot of smoke screening going on, nobody in their right mind here in Jacksonville thinks that he's on the trade block and he's going to be traded.
Yeah, go ahead and trade possibly what's going to end up being the best player in franchise history. Go ahead and trade him. That makes a lot of sense.
So
ridiculous.
So I didn't. Even his thoughts on, like, okay, Kyler Murray might be the right fit. Whatever.
What about Matthew Stafford coming to Jacksonville?
Well, okay, but you have to remember the premise here was the dream scenario. Okay. I did not have a problem with the Matthew Stafford say, okay, go get him, because that was floated around a couple months ago too. But I had a problem with two things when it came to Reggie Bush talking about it. One,
Well, actually 3. One, he said him and Matt Patricia maybe or maybe not. I mean, he wouldn't commit either way. He's either heard something or he hasn't heard something. Yeah. Then number 2, he said Jacksonville has a lot of weapons down there.
No.
We do? Where are they?
Yeah.
Somebody please stand up and tell me all the weapons on this offense in Jacksonville.
And I'll tell you what else. I mean, I get it's a fantasy, but there's no way we're going to be taking on his $135 million contract either.
No, and the big problem is the dead money, right? It's $49 million dead money cap hit for the Detroit Lions. But he also said give up a first, a second, a third, or whatever. Well, really, you wouldn't. You would give up maybe your first-round pick, but if you're going to assume all this kind of dollars, you don't even – so – I don't know. I just thought it was bad. It bothered me last night. I wanted to share it with everybody. Jalen Ramsey is not going. If you people think Jalen Ramsey is going anywhere, the Jags have so much control over him, including a 5th-year option, the possibility to franchise tag him again before they even come to a long-term deal. And by the way, they'll come to a long-term deal first. Jalen Ramsey ain't going anywhere. Come on, guys. I love you, LT. I don't know if I love you, Reggie Bush. But be better than that. ESPN 690. More of it next.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and now that the NBA trade deadline is done, we can leave poor Kyrie Irving alone, right? At least for a few months. That's when the Celtics all-star guard becomes a free agent. According to his boss, Danny Ainge, Irving's a lock to stay with Boston, but ESPN's Stephen A. Smith says there might be some trouble brewing.
This is his franchise, and I think what's happening right now to Boston is problematic. Last night, for example, from what I was told by sources inside that locker room, you had people that were very upset because Terry Rozier was balling last night. He had to come out late in the game because Kyrie Irving was brought in there.
Meanwhile, the dust has settled on all the deadline action from this past week, and it seems like the Philadelphia 76ers may have walked away the winners between getting Tobias Harris and earlier in the season landing Jimmy Butler. It looks like Philly's going all in on a win-now mentality. This weekend, the Gators take on the #1 ranked Volunteers in Tennessee, while the 22nd ranked Seminoles are home against the 16th ranked Louisville Cardinals. Listen anytime, day or night, by streaming us live at ESPN690.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. Come meet Shaquem Griffin and hear his inspirational story during a community event presented by Brooks Rehabilitation. Saturday, February 9th on the Flex Field at Daly's Place. Shaquem Griffin of the Seattle Seahawks will be in Jacksonville. The former UCF football star made history last year when he became the first one-handed player to be drafted to the NFL. Doors open at 10 a.m. on February 9th. This community event features exhibits and demonstrations, followed by a conversation with Shaquem Griffin. Register now at brookscelebrate.org. Hey everybody, it's Brent Martin of Action Sports Jacks. My good friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville are taking customer service to the next level. Their no-risk, no-pressure approach is incredible. Take it from me, we have a Hyundai in our family, and we couldn't be more impressed with this no-risk, no-pressure approach by Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. We're all human. Sometimes we change our minds. For example, perhaps you buy a new Hyundai Elantra from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville, but then realize, I actually need something with more room to carry the kids to and from practice. Don't worry, because Jenkins Hyundai knows how to handle the situation. If you're not 100% satisfied with the vehicle for any reason, you can bring it back to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville within the first 7 days for your money back. And you can pick up something more roomy, like the new Hyundai Santa Fe. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. Go check out the showroom and visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com and tell them Brent Martineau sent you.
From Daytona Beach to Brunswick, now ESPN can be heard loud and clear everywhere on one of the most powerful AM radio stations in Florida. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jacks on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jacks is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Can you imagine if the Jags traded Jalen Ramsey? Seriously?
No, I couldn't.
I mean, listen, I protect this organization a lot. That would be so foolish and dumb. And you know, some people in town, I would say, they'd be like, well, yeah, but he's a headache, and he's half the headache that half that locker room was last year, people. Mm-hmm. I mean, he is. The perception of Jalen Ramsey to me, again, we talked about it a lot earlier in the week, is so different at times in reality. And every time I say something nice about Jalen Ramsey, I love it because everybody will be like, you're just trying to get unblocked.
Yep, that's what I always say about it, too.
I was just thinking that.
I think
that's what everybody thinks about. Yeah. I don't care if I'm unblocked.
Maybe a little bit.
You're the only blocked one on this show.
I actually like to be, in a way, I like this thing to play along more, so he can keep me blocked. It's fine. It's some material, at least. But, it just fascinates me, the Ramsey thing. Let's see. What didn't you say something that someone said 10 things? Oh, yeah, there we go. 8, 9. Oh, we had this one guy. Okay, I see what he's saying. Brandon Dupree, who was listening to that 2-minute clip or 90-second clip from NFL Network. He was actually keeping count on Facebook.
Okay.
So he was up to 8,
Props
9,
to him.
10. So he said 10 things bothered him in that whole deal. It was one of those, remember like the kid magazines where you're like at the dentist or something? You got to find all the missing, the hidden deals. What was that, like highlights or something?
Highlights. Good call to say illustrations. Highlights, man. Good.
That was a good call.
Name drop.
Mom right now, if Mom's listening back home,
highlights.
She would like the fact that I came up with highlights because Mom was a big highlights subscriber.
Yeah.
Like we would get that a lot.
Yep.
And you'd have to find all the missing, whatever it was.
That was the best part of the magazine. And then they had various animals on the front covers. They'd always switch it up, and that was cool for like a minute. But yeah, the thing I really enjoyed was finding the things that are incorrect, that are missing.
I feel like we just played highlights though with that 2-minute clip from NFL Network.
No, for sure.
And we were trying to find out all the things.
Yeah,
I got mad. So, whatever. They give us some good content, I guess. I really like NFL Network. I like a lot of those guys. I feel like just sometimes they're asked to say stuff about a place like Jacksonville where I just don't really think they have the pulse sometimes. Obviously, Maurice Jones-Drew has the pulse of everything going on. It's such a broad view. It's hard to get a pulse every single place. But to me, to say that, I mean, if you don't know by now, and as a national guy, that Jalen Ramsey's really not on the trade block, woo.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That says a lot. So, also about that segment, that was for the whole league, and they both picked Jacksonville Jaguar.
Oh, so
trade things.
So
like that wasn't
this
like
wasn't
specific.
like team by team.
No.
I mean, this was literally just any team that.
They just said in the NFL, give me a dream trade, and the Jags were on the radar.
Yeah.
In both of those trades.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray says he's going to the combine. What does it tell you?
Nothing. I mean, obviously, it's a step towards football, but it doesn't really tell me anything, especially watching his interview with Dan Patrick. I think he's still undecided. I really do. So I'm not sure what the play here is with the combine, where if he shows out well, maybe that's going to cause some intrigue. I mean, listen, I'm sure he's probably mocked at the second best quarterback right now in the draft.
He is.
So yeah. So
I mean, Mel Kiper thinks. I was watching Kiper and McShay, and Kiper thinks he might sneak into the top 5.
Okay.
McShay thinks he's probably going to get around 13 to the Dolphins, but he will be the second either way, he's the second quarterback off the board.
I mean, I think it's a step in the right direction. The combine isn't necessarily the most quarterback-friendly environment because, number one, it's a stressful environment. You're putting in long days. I mean, I was there back in 2010. And usually you go to bed, and this is me playing defensive end. I'm sure quarterbacks can have it a lot worse with their meetings and everything, but you go to bed around midnight, and you have to get up like around 5:30. So you're going on 5 hours of sleep. You're expected to make these throws to receivers that you have no idea what they're capable of. And I forgot the dude's name, but I almost got in a fight with the quarterback because I was playing, so I was obviously defensive end, but I was also doing outside linebacker drills.
Yeah.
So one of those outside linebacker drills was where I had a back pedal, and then I had to go up and high point the ball, bring it down, and then score a touchdown.
I use those tight end receiver skills from high school.
Well, the problem I had was my quarterback, man, could not throw me a ball like at high point. Like he kept going over the head, or he kept going like at my feet. So I didn't have a catchable ball. Well, the way the combine works is you have to finish the drill. So I had to wait like 4 or 5 times for him to throw me the right ball. So I'm like, dude, just throw me the ball. It's the combine, man. So he kind of jawed back at me. So unfortunately, it didn't make the TV coverage, but we were kind of going back and forth a little bit. I want to say he's from Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. But getting back to my point, there's a reason why a lot of quarterbacks don't do the combine. Because it's not a quarterback-friendly environment.
Yeah, you go to Pro Day instead, where you've got your receivers that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
You are the one that map out the plan, where you want to throw, who you want to throw to, how far you want to throw, some of your familiar routes, and guys haven't done it. I mean, that was the thing. Blake Bortles did it. Said, I'll throw anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, guys have since said that, but other guys have said, no, I'm going to throw it my pro day, and that's it.
And the biggest thing with the combine is the interviews. You know, it's
absolutely it's the most important thing.
It is the most important thing. So Kyler Murray, you know, going from that, and I understand, and I said it before, it's just one interview on the Dan Patrick Show. He's not used to talking to the media. I get that. But you got to step your game up, man, because you just can't be, you know, sitting there with a blank face when you're in front of these meetings where you have the entire organization sitting around you at a circular table and you're up in front of everybody.
Yeah, keep in mind, too, I mean, listen, you're going to get the quarterback, you're getting the CEO of your organization, essentially, right? I mean, you do that with your coach, but you also do that with your quarterback. You're getting the CEO of your locker room. And if this guy isn't comfortable, again, he was put in an awkward spot probably by his representation, where he doesn't want to commit, doesn't want to give up too much information, and you're asked questions. There's only so many ways you can answer those questions, and not answering them at all was a bad look. He might be fantastic in front of a microphone. He might be fantastic in that setting. He wasn't fantastic in that Dan Patrick setting, as you're mentioning.
It was horrible.
But so there's intrigue there. What else is interesting about Kyler Murray is the fact that so many of these quarterbacks, we talk about the interviews being very important, but the measurables are important. So, guy like Will Grier, I think he's like 6'2" and a quarter or something like that. Say the difference there is, hey, if he gets to 6'3", or, you know, if he was 6'3", there's a big difference in the NFL eyes of 6'3" to 6'2". Well, if it's 6'2" and a quarter and he's been telling everybody that, but he's really only 6'1" and a half, that's going to dock him down a little bit. The people are going to be like, oh, wait a minute. But the difference between Kyler Murray is I'm not sure it matters, because it's already known that he's so small that, yeah, sure, people will be like, holy cow, he really is 5'9". But we kind of know he's 5'9" or 5'8" or whatever it is. So it might not actually be as big a deal as, say, a Will Grier, who everybody thinks he's 6'2" and a half and might really be 6'1" and 3/4.
You can sit there and say it's not going to be a big deal, but I'll put any money down that says the whole week before the combine, all we're going to be talking about is the weigh-in and the height measurements for Kyler Murray. That's going to be the biggest draw at the combine. It's not going to be, hey, there's this cat from a D2 school who could run like a 4.2. He might break the record. No, it's going to be, is Kyler Murray tall enough to play in the NFL? Does he weigh enough? And that's going to be the biggest storyline of the entire combine, which is probably the first time this has ever happened. I mean, I can't think back to a time where someone's been so obsessed with height and weight. I mean, there has happened before, I'm sure.
Well, there always are, but Russell Wilson was like that a little bit.
But, I mean, this is on a different level, Brent.
It feels like it's a different level.
Yeah.
But my point to that is this, Austin. If you're Dave Caldwell and Tom Coughlin, I think you go into the combine February 26th, and you already know if that guy's on your board or not. You know how tall he is. You know if that bothers you to a point where you can't check that box, and you know you can't. There's height, there's weight, there's hands, there's accuracy, there's intellect, there's leadership. All these boxes that you have to check. You know that you are not checking that height box. So to me, you either know that bothers you to the point where you're not even going to worry about this guy because he's almost off your board and you're not investing your franchise QB into that, or you know that doesn't bother you because I've seen tape on this guy and he's super electric and I love his arm and he's accurate and he's got all these qualities. Now let's go find out if he can be a great leader, if he can be our CEO, if he's that kind of young man.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, coming from the coach's standpoint, listen, they know if they want Kyler Murray already or not. It's not going to make a difference if he's 5'10" or 5'9". It's the NFL Network. It's all the talking heads that are going to make a big deal about it. At the end of the day, the best thing Kyler Murray has going for him is his film. You know, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. So his film is what he has going for him, and teams can kind of base what they want to know off that, and then obviously the interview process. The height and the weight, they have a pretty good idea.
I have not been on the Kyler Murray train, but I will say this. If I was a GM, I don't think I'd take him. But he is the most exciting guy to me. If they were to take him, I'd be like, let's go. I can't wait to watch this guy in August.
Yep,
he would be that guy. Hey, Christian Brewery, we'll talk Orlando Apollos. Has it been received well in Orlando? That's coming up at 4 o'clock, and I don't know. Maybe I'll let Austin talk Kenny Omega or something like that next.
See, very intrigued by the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Is an unhappy Thon Maker the answer? 53% of the audience said yes.
Thon Maker is going to excite anybody who hasn't seen Thon Maker play, correct? Like, that guy walks into the room.
How'd we get him?
Yeah, that guy's great. I would draft him first overall every time.
The Dan Le Batard Show with the Stuttgarts on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau of Action Sports Jacks, and if you're considering buying a new car, I want you to go talk to my good friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. They have raised the bar for customer service, and you'll be happy you went to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Their no-risk, no-pressure approach really sets them apart. Imagine buying a new Hyundai Santa Fe, but then thinking to yourself, maybe we don't need that much room in the family. Well, you could buy that new slick Hyundai Accent instead. And with Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville's no-risk, no-pressure approach, you could bring that Santa Fe back to the dealership in the first 7 days for your money back. No pressure whatsoever. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville also offers a lifetime warranty that is good anywhere in the United States. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. Do what my family did. Get a Hyundai and get it from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Go check out the showroom and visit them online at jenkinshyundaiofjacksonville.com.
Today we decided to walk to school. At the corner, we waited to cross the street. The stoplight counted down. 15, 41, 31, 13. We took a left on Raccoon Garden Street. Loud music was coming from a car.
Danny's a smart kid, but he gets so distracted.
There were so many other sounds, I didn't know what to focus on.
Danny, Earth to Danny. Suddenly he realized he forgot his homework again.
I left my homework on the table. At the school steps, we hugged goodbye. I really hope I don't have another bad day at school today.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free online resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Get personalized recommendations, practical tips, daily access to experts, and more. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And the latest breaking news and sports around the clock. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
Hey, it's Mike Golick from Golick and Wingo. You're listening to Action Sports Jacks with our friend Brent Martineau on ESPN 690.
Little whiteboard magic. Why try to be the hero when once you save the world, it'll prove to you it wasn't worth saving in the first place? Long live the villain.
Yep.
A little devilish behavior.
It is a little devilish behavior. Do you know who that's? Well, do you know what that's kind of gearing towards? Probably not, Brent. You don't follow wrestling these days, do you?
No.
So there's a character by the name of
No days.
Marty Scurll, and he is known as the villain. And he's an interesting character. We'll talk about him pretty soon here, if not this segment. And I'll get into some wrestling stuff
if we allow. How about I like this tweet from Gil Brandt, the new Hall of Famer.
Yep.
That was something else I watched on NFL Network. We can't wait for Tony Baselli to get in the Hall of Fame for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see the post coverage this week of it and how they put shows together on the knocking of the door and everything else, really cool. Some behind the scenes stuff. And I think Jaguars.com was ready to do a lot of that stuff too, but NFL Network does it. There's just a lot of cameras, and it's a neat moment, really special. So we know it's going to happen. We think it's going to happen, and when it does, I think to see not just that day, but maybe the follow. You get it on Sunday because they call the Hall of Famers out onto the field for the Super Bowl, and then it seems like even today and yesterday and the whole week after, and then of course what happens Enshrinement Week in Canton, Ohio. But Gil Brandt going to the Hall of Fame, nice man. I'll tell you a little story about Gil Brandt, too, very brief. He gets in the Hall of Fame that night, Saturday night around, I guess, finds out about 4 o'clock. And I'm sure they had some of the festivities because I've now seen some of the video of it. I think I got back, we had a special 7 to 8. And I think I got back maybe around 9 o'clock to the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And Gil Brandt's just standing in the hotel. He was obviously in my hotel.
Yeah.
And he was just standing there. He needs a cane now, at least, I don't know if all the time, but he did have a cane with him. And he was just kind of leaning up against the front. No, like, big parade, no big party.
Keeping it casual.
He's just,
And I had to go up to him. I don't know him well, and I had to just say, hey, congratulations. You know, that was pretty cool. And I really thought it was neat that he wasn't partying hard somewhere, you know? He was just chilling out.
Just another day.
Soaking it in. And he even says on one of the videos, and I thought this was cool because, you know, you get the phone call or you get the knock. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, I had no idea if I was getting the phone call because my phone died, so I couldn't. And it was like, he didn't really try to charge it up again or check it out. He's like, I had no idea.
He was going with the flow, man. I respect that.
Pretty calm and cool.
That's
but
awesome.
Anyway, that gets me into Gil Brandt says, notable players, including the most recent Super Bowl MVP, not invited to the Combine in recent years. Julian Edelman, Antonio Gates, Wes Welker, Osi Umenyiora, Sam Shields, James Harrison, Victor Cruz, Doug Baldwin, Malcolm Butler, Jay Ratliff. That's a pretty darn good.
A lot of New England Patriots.
A couple of New England Patriots there. Which shows you they've done their homework, huh?
No, absolutely.
Doesn't it? I mean, Edelman, Welker, and
Harrison,
Butler.
too. Well, and Harrison played for them for a little bit.
At the end.
Yeah, at the end.
But how about that? I mean, that's
crazy stat.
That's a Pro Bowl team.
Yeah.
Essentially, that did not get invited to the Combine.
I wonder, I guess then I assume John Randall, did they even have, John Randall?
Well, he might be. I mean, he just
who knows? I'm just thinking because, John Randall, one of the best defensive tackles of all time, was an undrafted free agent, if I'm not mistaken. So makes you wonder, too, as well.
It's an incredible league
It is.
in that regard, and some of the guys that make it and do so well. All right, here it is. Let's see what the results were. Should you be allowed to talk some wrestling? 46% said yes, 54% said no.
Okay, so how many votes did we have?
Well, only like 132.
Okay,
it was a short poll.
So we have to make 70 of those people happy, right? And say yes.
Yeah. Okay, go.
Okay.
So what? Seriously, I saw all this flurry going on last night
That's a big deal.
on social media.
Yeah,
I live there sometimes.
Yeah.
And what was happening? Gary Barnidge even chimed in.
Gary Barnidge wanted me to talk wrestling, so I mean, just to appease him, I feel like we have to do it now. So as most people probably in Jacksonville know now, all Elite Wrestling is a thing.
Tony Khan's thing.
It is Tony Khan's thing. They spent a lot of money on it. They're getting some big name players now to come to this organization. If they get the right deal with the TV network, they could actually probably, go toe to toe with the WWE, which would be huge. So last night, the AEW, as they call it, they're in Las Vegas to promote their first up-and-coming, basically their big pay-per-view event called Double or Nothing. It's May 25th. Maybe Brent and I'll get to go to that and cover it. We'll see. Never say never.
What day is that again?
The 25th of May.
That's my birthday.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Let's go celebrate in
Vegas.
Let's go to Vegas, baby.
Now
all right. Now we're cooking. Now I'm excited again. Now I'm ready to talk some wrestling.
So do we have 2 Vegas trips planned now, potentially?
What's the other one?
NBA Summer League.
Oh, that's right. You do. Well, let's not include we in that, all right?
I like it all
just throwing around we like he's part of the team all of a sudden, man.
I don't know. You might be going to the Summer League.
Oh,
I don't know about we going to the Summer League.
Yep.
I'm going on vacation.
Here goes Kuz trying to sabotage my segment here, but all good.
We'll go to Vegas next April, by the way, for the draft as well. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, so, with All Elite Wrestling, they started announcing some wrestlers. Well, last night, it was a streaming event. It was on YouTube, on their website, on Twitter and Facebook, and they announced a few more wrestlers. Kylie Ray, The Best Friends, and actually the first transgender wrestler in Major League Wrestling named Nyla, which I had no idea. Honestly, I had no idea there was a transgender wrestler, so that's pretty cool. I'm kind of breaking down the barriers and whatnot. But now here's the fact. The big news, well, there's a few big news things last night that happened. Number one, obviously, the Young Bucks being All Elite Wrestling. The Young Bucks are probably the most popular tag team right now in wrestling. They came out, did a little speech and everything, and they were ambushed by their potential opponents at Double or Nothing in Pentagon. Used to be Pentagon Jr., now it's Pentagon 0M, and Ray Phoenix. And they're going to be known as the Lucha. The Luchadors. So that's a pretty cool thing because Pentagon Jr. is probably the most famous luchador at the moment. And the fact that all Elite Wrestling is all into, these Mexican wrestlers coming over and, giving them like the main events right away is pretty cool because if you look at WWE, they don't really treat luchadors that well. I mean, only thing that comes to mind out of WWE right now is the Lucha House Party. And if you follow wrestling, it's not a good look for anybody.
All right, so luchadors are Mexican wrestlers?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
I got to fill in the blanks here for the average folk.
Yeah, so being a luchador, it kind of originated in Mexico and everything. You know, they wear the masks. So yeah, so that's that. But the biggest news of the night, and Brent, you saw me tweet it as soon as it happened, Kenny Omega.
Yeah, you've been calling on this to happen for a while.
Kenny Omega, many consider the top wrestler right now in the whole entire world. I mean, every wrestling website, every wrestling magazine has him at numero uno, and he's officially signed.
And he's a Japanese wrestler.
So he's from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's from Canada.
He's from Canada, but he was in
So he was actually
Japan wrestling.
He was in WWE for about a year. Didn't go anywhere with it. Got let go. Went to New Japan Pro Wrestling and some other stuff too as well. But made his name in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So
that's the big news.
That's the huge news. So now he's with All Elite Wrestling. And then to top that off, and a guy Chris Jericho. Yeah. Chris Jericho came out when they announced Kenny Omega, and they kind of went back and forth. So it's going to be Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho 2, which happened last year. It was one of the matches of the whole entire year. This one's going to spare no expense. I have a feeling it's going to be a great match as well.
Let the script writing begin.
Exactly.
All right, so let's, again, there are people that might be listening, if they haven't turned it off yet, that have no clue about the wrestling world. But the big deal here is this All Elite Wrestling's out of Jacksonville with Tony Khan.
Yep.
And they're trying to go toe-to-toe with the monster that is the WWE. But they have 3 mega stars now, right? Well, actually 4.
Huge, yeah.
The Young Bucks.
Cody Rhodes.
Kenny Omega. And Jericho. And is Jericho a big star?
No, Jericho's a huge star. Okay. Absolutely, yes.
So that counts. So 4.
Yeah, there's 4.
So 4 mega stars in the world of wrestling.
And don't count your chickens before they hatch, but there's another star, a few more stars coming as well. So we talked to Diamond Dallas Page at the Super Bowl. He had nothing but nice things to say about Cody Rhodes, how great of a wrestler he is, and if anybody follows wrestling knows how talented Cody is. Well, Cody is in need of an opponent. There's rumors that the WWE might be terminating Dean Ambrose, who's a pretty popular figure with them right now. Signs point to Dean Ambrose maybe leaving for the fact that, well, he just got buried, which means he just got beat by an up-and-comer named EC3, and that's not good for Dean Ambrose's character. He's also upset with the fact that he has zero control of his character, and if Dean Ambrose comes to All Elite Wrestling, knowing Cody Rhodes, he'll give him complete control of the direction that he wants to take his character. So Dean Ambrose might be a good opponent for Cody Rhodes. Also, the last guy that I posted on the whiteboard, Marty Scurll, who is from England and honestly is probably one of the most underrated wrestlers in the entire world right now. He used to be known as Marty the Party, this kind of bro wrestler, completely changed around his character. The best way I can describe him is imagine the swag of the Penguin from Batman mixed with like the mic skills of the Joker mixed with Tom Hardy from Peaky Blinders, if you ever see Peaky Blinders. But so he has like that Cockney English accent.
Listen, you're already not talking to me. You're talking to an audience that's tuned in for this.
So here's my big prediction for all you wrestling fans out there. Marty Scurll right now, he's with Ring of Honor until a couple more months. He's going to be terminating that contract before the big pay-per-view for All Elite Wrestling. Expect Marty Scurll to sign the contract for All Elite Wrestling, and since him and Cody are friends, to be buddy-buddy, and expect Marty Scurll to turn his back on Cody Rhodes, and it's going to be Cody Rhodes, Marty Scurll, the villain, the guy from Villain Enterprises, taking over for Double or Nothing pay-per-view.
The script writing has begun for All Elite Wrestling. We're going to get back to football next on ESPN 690.
It's me, DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, the king of bada bing, the master of the diamond cutter, the 3-time world champion, WWE Hall of Famer. This is Action Sports Jax. Bang!
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and now that the NBA trade deadline is done, we can leave poor Kyrie Irving alone, right? At least for a few months. That's when the Celtics all-star guard becomes a free agent. According to his boss, Danny Ainge, Irving's a lock to stay with Boston, but ESPN's Stephen A. Smith says there might be some trouble brewing.
This is his franchise, and I think what's happening right now to Boston is problematic. Last night, for example, from what I was told by sources inside that locker room, you had people that were very upset because Terry Rozier was balling last night. he had to come out late in the game because Kyrie Irving was brought in there.
Meanwhile, the dust has settled on all the deadline action from this past week, and it seems like the Philadelphia 76ers may have walked away the winners between getting Tobias Harris and earlier in the season landing Jimmy Butler. It looks like Philly's going all in on a win-now mentality. This weekend, the Gators take on the number 1 ranked Volunteers in Tennessee, while the 22nd ranked Seminoles are home against the 16th ranked Louisville Cardinals. Listen anytime, day or night, by streaming us live at ESPN690.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau of Action Sports Jacks, and if you're considering buying a new car, I want you to go talk to my good friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. They have raised the bar for customer service, and you'll be happy you went to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Their no-risk, no-pressure approach really sets them apart. Imagine buying a new Hyundai Santa Fe, but then thinking to yourself, maybe we don't need that much room in the family. Well, you could buy that new slick Hyundai Accent instead. And with Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville's no-risk, no-pressure approach, you could bring that Santa Fe back to the dealership in the first 7 days for your money back. No pressure whatsoever. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville also offers a lifetime warranty that is good anywhere in the United States. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. Do what my family did. Get a Hyundai and get it from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Go check out the showroom and visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the only $5 meal worthy of your appetite? Wendy's Giant Junior Bacon Cheeseburger Meal. Our classic Junior Bacon Cheeseburger is now bigger, with double the fresh, never frozen beef and double the Applewood smoked bacon. There's nothing junior about it except the price. Wendy's Giant Junior Bacon Cheeseburger Meal comes with nuggets, fries, and a drink for just $5. Get the $5 Giant Junior Bacon Cheeseburger Meal at Wendy's. Giant Meal, junior price.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
At AutoZone, we're all about giving you more ways to get more done. Like the AutoZone Rewards program. Sign up is free, and members get a $20 reward every time they spend $20 or more 5 times. Got more to do? We've got more for you to do it. And if your headlights need to be replaced, now's the time to do the job. New headlights help boost visibility, which means you'll be driving safer, even in the toughest conditions. For all things headlights, head to AutoZone. Let us help you at more than 5,600 locations nationwide. See terms at AutoZone.com/rewards. Restrictions and details in store.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Celtics president Danny Ainge on 98.5. The Sports Hub said today they remain confident Kyrie Irving will resign with the team if the star guard chooses to opt out of his contract this summer. In October, Irving indicated he planned on staying with Boston, but last week he told reporters to ask him July 1st when it came to his future. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reporting the Celtics have promised to be aggressive to try and acquire Anthony Davis this summer. Davis obviously not moved at the trade deadline by the Pelicans, and there's one player in particular that New Orleans will insist from Boston in any deal, explains Woj.
A lot of this is going to come down to Boston's willingness to put Jason Tatum into a trade with the Pelicans. The one thing they want among everything else in a deal for Anthony Davis is to get a player that has all NBA potential, and that's Jason Tatum.
Davis expected to return from an injured finger tonight versus the Timberwolves, 9:30 Eastern, ESPN TV and the ESPN app. Baseball, Indians shortstop Francisco Lindor, the team's best player, will miss spring training and perhaps the start of the season with a strained right calf.
Valentine's is almost here, and 1-800-Flowers has the best bouquets and amazing deals around, like 18 red roses for $29.99, or upgrade to 24 red roses for $10 more. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code WILL.
You watch Action Sports Jacks on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jacks is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Grab a drink, get a shot, and tip your bartenders.
Little happy hour horn on a Friday. Is there a better day for a happy hour horn than Friday? Probably not. We don't ever get to go to happy hour.
That's why we need our own horn.
I haven't been to happy hour since I was like a freshman in college, I think. It's been a long time for me.
Good to have the happy hour horn. Iceman, by the way, will play. It reminds me of the Iceman because of the hockey horn. And they'll play at Orlando tonight and then be home tomorrow. So go check them out. Usually get good crowds. Been great and fantastic crowds. A couple weeks ago when they had come back from that month-long road trip, had 11,000 downtown. Largest hockey crowd ever.
Man.
So pretty good stuff by the Jacksonville Icemen. Some wrestling comments here, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of big names will be coming available really soon, so it'll be interesting.
Yep.
Says Kevin.
AJ Styles as well will be.
What does this mean? Does ROH let their talent do shots elsewhere?
Ring of Honor. Yeah, so Marty right now is in Ring of Honor. Kenny Omega's been done. He's done some things for Ring of Honor as well. So traditionally with Ring of Honor, they are super flexible with different appearances. As you guys remember from the Bullet Club, they would go to New Japan Pro Wrestling, then come to Ring of Honor, things like that. They've been pretty flexible with Kenny when he was there, and I don't see Marty being a problem at all, especially if he can get more eyes on Ring of Honor as well, seeing how Marty's not going to stay there forever.
All right, I got it. So there you go. Just a follow-up. We're getting some comments on the feed on at Brent A.S. Jacks on our YouTube channel, Action Sports Jacks, on Facebook, ESPN 690's page. You can also see us on Twitch as well. Get us just about everywhere, and I know you get us in Orlando if you want to check out any of those fantastic social media platforms. And that means if you can get us in Orlando on one of those, you can listen to this guy and you watch this guy. Christian Bruey joins us right now from WFTV, our sister station on the TV side down in Orlando. What's up, man?
How you guys doing?
We're fantastic. It's Friday. Football season we thought was over until this new AAF came along, and now we've got football season in February, March, and April. You guys excited down there?
Yeah, I mean that was it. You know, it was Super Bowl Sunday, and we watched whatever that was. 13-3, and you're thinking that football's over, and then Monday comes around, and I'm hanging out with Steve Spurrier at a coach's luncheon, and then we're out at practice, and it's a little different than what we're used to with UCF and covering football practices. They let us sit there and watch the whole thing. So I've been at a couple of those practices, talked to Coach a handful of times, and I'm a guy that grew up in Keystone Heights, right there between Gainesville and Jacksonville, and grew up idolizing Spurrier. So it's a lot of fun to see him back at it and coaching, and he seems re-energized.
Yeah, I was going to say, we talked to Ryan Davis yesterday, former Jags player, obviously playing for the Apollos and trying to get back to the NFL. And we asked him about Spurrier. He said, oh, yeah, he's hungry. He's into it. And what do you think the motivation for Spurrier is in this whole deal?
I think it's just that hunger, and these guys get that itch, and this is the perfect way for them to scratch it. It's 3 months. There's no 24/7 recruiting. It is strictly coaching. They had their month out in San Antonio for training camp. The rosters are almost built for them with the allocated players because of the regional areas that they're in. That's why 29 of the 52 players played their college ball here in the state of Florida. And then they go out and they just coach. And I think something else that's pretty cool is he's giving some former Gators, some guys that he coached, an opportunity to get into this rank of coaching. We see Willie Jackson's coaching the receivers. Lito Shepard is coaching the safety. So there's a lot of interesting things, and I think because it is all these guys fighting to get back to the highest level, to get to the NFL, there's stories all over the field, and you got that with Ryan, or you got that with Josh Evans, and it's really interesting to see. And I think like all of us, we want to see what the product looks like tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think we're always fascinated with guys that we know, whether it's college or the NFL, and we know those names. Denard Robinson comes to mind, who's in this league and now gets another chance. And we're saying, okay, do they still have anything left? I want to at least check it out. So I think the sample for football fans from a college to NFL level will be really big this weekend. The game's on CBS nationally, so it's on CBS 47 local in town. But 8 o'clock tomorrow night for this game, Orlando against Atlanta. And you got the recognition with the coaches. You have the recognition with some of the star players and people involved in it. But the big question is going to be, after people sample it, or once people sample it, Christian, is what does the product look like? What does it look like out on the practice field so far?
Honestly, it looks pretty darn good. It looks as good as top-notch college football, and I think that's what you would expect when you got guys that have been in the NFL. You have guys that were all SEC or all conference at their respective universities. I think the other thing that's going to make it great for fans is that they're really working to keep it in a 2.5-hour window. You're not going to have to give up 4 hours of your day, or that you have to at times with college football or the NFL. There's no kickoffs, there's no extra points, so there's 2-point conversions. So you're going to see some interesting scores. And then with that, they've done away with the onside kick, but it's the way you do it. It's 4th and 12. You get one shot to convert on 4th and 12 from your own 28. I was talking with Coach Spurrier. He told me they had one exhibition game against Mike Martz's team, and Martz converted on 2 of them, and it went from like 31-12 to 31-28 in a matter of 3 minutes. So you're never going to be out of it, because there are these interesting new rules that they're going to try and implement that will make the game go quicker, and also I think to keep it more fun for the fans and see some higher scoring games, which I think we all like.
Hey there, Christian. Austin Lane here. Listen, obviously we're talking about the sports part of it, but this is also a business. There's a lot of opportunity here for growth. From the sponsorship standpoint, have you guys received a lot of interest with everything? I mean, has there been a lot of talks of, some pretty good deals going on for the players and obviously the teams as well? I mean, could this grow into something like the CFL where they've been pretty successful with making money?
Yeah, I think so. I think what's interesting is in the players' contracts, I believe they're all on 3-year, $250,000 deals, non-guaranteed. Mm-hmm. But still, that's a nice chunk of money for these guys that are still fighting. It's not like some of these arena football contracts that you hear about where guys are having to have other jobs. You've got that, and then also there are incentives. If they do work in the community, they can get more money. And I believe there's a lot of incentive based on players. So from that side for the players, I think it will work out. On the other side of the business side, looking at UCF's stadium, it's all wrapped up, and I know that there's a lot of companies that are buying in on this because they plan to have 20,000 people out there on Saturday night. There aren't too many opportunities you get to have your brand in front of 20,000 people. We just announced today that we're going to be the home of the Coaches Show. So we just announced that today. I don't know exactly if the phones are lighting up for people to, buy some commercial time on that. But when you attach yourself to Steve Spurrier, I think you're probably going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, you can't go wrong in that regard. And just to follow up what Christian just said, Christian Bruey with us from WFTV down in Orlando. He'll be covering the Orlando Apollos a bunch. But you know him here in Jacksonville at TIAA Bank Field for doing the pregame, in-game, post-game with Fred Taylor up on the giant video boards. So Christian here in town. And you just mentioned it. You guys are going to be doing a coaches show Wednesday night at 11 o'clock on TV 27 or on the WFTV Now app down there in Orlando. I mean, that says a lot. Spurrier obviously is a guy that resonates, and he's bigger than the product no matter what happens, and that's what it's all about. That's why I think these big names being attached to it say, hey, wait a minute, if they're bought in, I can at least buy into this, and this seems like a real deal. What we talk about a lot, and I did it yesterday with Ryan Davis too, is it can't be gimmicky. And it doesn't feel like it's gimmicky when you have all these people with good resumes involved in it. And on top of that, don't you love the new rules that you just mentioned? I mean, some of these things that the NFL has talked about, trying to speed up, trying to get some of the minutia out of a game, and it looks like they're going to pounce on this opportunity to do so. And I think that's going to be appealing to some people, get in and out of there in less than 3 hours.
Yeah, I think, if you just went down the street and told someone, hey, how about this onside kick rule, it would sound a little gimmicky. But it's, once again, they're trying to get rid of the kickoff. Like you said, the NFL has talked about this because of the injuries, and they're also going to eliminate some of these TV timeouts. You're not going to have touchdown, TV timeout, kickoff, TV timeout, where you're sitting there for 10 or 15 minutes between actual plays. They're going to do a lot of in-game advertising, which I think is the new way to do things. So, it's a proving ground for guys that want to get back to the NFL. But I know with the names that you mentioned and Bill Polian kind of serving as the commissioner, the NFL's got their eye on this, and they're going to keep an eye on some of these new rules and how they're able to possibly get the game within a 2.5-hour window. And I guarantee if it works and maybe they try some new rules, I know that they're going to have a eye in the sky for pass interference calls. They had that in place before what happened in the NFC Championship game. If there is something egregious, they can go back and review it. So, yeah, you can't tell me that the NFL won't have their eye on this. And, maybe if some things go really well that work, owners' meetings in March or whatnot out in Arizona, I think that they could bring some of that stuff up.
That's a great point you just said. The NFL has their eye on it, but I think it's twofold, Christian, what you just mentioned. Yeah, they have their eye on some of the rules that they've brought up and now this league's implementing. They have their eye on some of the talent that might be in this league that can fill up some training camp rosters and maybe give people another chance at the NFL dream. But then the last one to me is the most important because TV deals are so important for this league to survive. But if the NFL would support this and back this sometime in the near future and view it as a feeder system, that would be massive for a league like this and maybe huge for the sport of football and the NFL because it's the one thing it is lacking. The college game is no longer a true feeder system. They play a different sport most of the time, and they're so young. So do you see that down the road? Is that the end game for this league to say, hey, come on, NFL, jump on this, put your dollars behind it, and we can do this thing together?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, why couldn't it be a farm system where you have some guys that, unfortunately get stowed away on a practice squad? There's one of the local kids that's playing here. He went to South Carolina, an offensive lineman. His name's Ronald Patrick. He spent 5 years in the league, but he hasn't played a football game. He's been on, I think, 8 different practice squads. So he's bouncing around, and he's getting called in and hanging out and making a nice paycheck. But at the end of the day, is he ever going to get a true opportunity until he's got some game film? Now they're going to have some game film on him from this Saturday and then moving on. And that's something that I think that, that's what they've talked about is players that slip through the cracks a little bit. I think it's a really, really cool opportunity for a lot of these players. And then, as we've said, for the NFL to possibly jump onto this as a possible farm system like we see in baseball.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Christian Bruey with us. We'll let you go, man, but I do think they're onto something. I mean, when you have the NFL Network that's going to show games, you have CBS Sportsnet, and you're going to debut on the network on CBS. Andrew Catalon, my buddy Andrew Catalon's going to call the game. He's I think he's the part of the fourth CBS team on NFL Sundays. And you mentioned to me too, Gary Danielson's. You've seen him down at practice, so he's tied in with the SEC. So it seems like CBS is really putting some strength behind this.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Danielson knows these guys. He knows our old kind, the Gators defensive end, and he went out and spent some time in San Antonio where they had all the teams do their training camps. He told me that he thinks that the Apollos have the best defensive line, and you would think so when you look at that roster. But it's a voice that's familiar. It's a guy. If you watch football on Saturdays here in the Southeast, you're going to understand Gary Danielson, and I think it feels big. It feels bigger because you're going to have those voices that you've grown accustomed to talking to you on Saturdays at 3:30 when you got a big game going on. So I think that'll be really interesting. The other one thing, I just want to bring it up real quick. I don't know if I have much time, but
yeah, you got time.
They also flew in all the bookmakers from Las Vegas to get a look at all these teams. They're kind of another one of these leagues that's truly embracing the gambling side of it, and they did that because they wanted the bookmakers to put out futures. I think the Apollos have the third best odds to win the inaugural AAF championship. So it's just another way to draw interest, and I think we know that everyone likes to gamble on football, and I think you're going to get 3 more months of that as well.
Great move.
Christian, do you see this actually becoming like a big thing with the gambling, maybe like on FanDuel or DraftKings?
Yeah, their app, which is going to be where you can also watch all the games, they're going to have their own daily fantasy going through that. There's no season-long fantasy because there's only 8 teams. Mm-hmm. I don't think you could find 12 buddies that are willing to, split quarterbacks or something like that. But they are going to do the daily league. So, yeah, you could pick up Denard Robinson and if you wanted to as a running back. I did hear he's not going to start, though, for the Legends. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Terrian Folston, a kid from down here, is supposedly going to get the nod at running back tomorrow. But, yeah, they're going in on the kind of daily fantasy stuff as well.
It is Austin Appleby starting, right, for Orlando?
It is not. Garrett Gilbert, the SMU product.
Okay.
Yeah,
but Appleby's on the roster. But
Appleby is he's the backup, it looks like. I think he's number 2 behind Gilbert.
Okay.
And we know how Spurrier likes to play 2 quarterbacks, so you never know. You might want to pick up Appleby in that fantasy league as well.
1A and 1B.
I can't wait till he empties the playbook, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm interested in it. I hope you guys have fun with it tomorrow, and we'll talk more about it as the season goes along. Thanks, man, for joining us. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, Christian Bruey from WFTV. I'm intrigued by. I don't know why I'm so intrigued by this. Like,
I'm fascinated by tomorrow night, and really just not one night, the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on this, too. There are some rumblings that they may move practices up to the Jacksonville area at times.
Cool.
So I think they'll try to, be mobile and spread out and geographically say, hey, let's showcase this. There's some talk about that. We'll see what official word rate.
And honestly, I'm going to be watching it tomorrow because of Ryan Davis, my former teammate and whatnot. But at the same time, and I get it, the talent level won't be to the NFL standards. But these guys are trying to play for an NFL contract. So these guys are going to be going all out.
I was going to say.
Putting their hearts and soul into it. So it's going to be a cool thing to see.
No doubt. Hey, Ballin' and Fallin'. We'll see who does it from the new AAF. But we'll have our own rendition of that next on ESPN 690 on a Friday.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
It's the Jacksonville Greek Festival, February 22nd through the 24th at the Morocco Shrine. It's 3 days of live music, Greek food, kids activities. It's fun for the entire family. Don't miss happy hour on Friday and Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. The 2019 Jacksonville Greek Festival, February 22nd through the 24th at the Morocco Shrine. For more info, visit jacksgreekfest.com. jacksgreekfest.com.
Hey everybody, it's Brent Martineau of Action Sports Jacks here to talk to you about my good friends, the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. They built this new dealership from the ground up, and they did it with you in mind, and it's a beautiful facility. Their focus is getting you into the car you want at an affordable price, and that's where their no-risk, no-pressure approach comes in. If you buy a vehicle from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville and you're not 100% satisfied with your purchase, you can bring the vehicle back within the first 7 days for your money back. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. You can drive a Hyundai. Put a Hyundai in your family like we have in our family. And take it from me. My friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville will treat you right. Go check out the showroom. Visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with the Jenkins exclusive lifetime warranty. Make sure you tell them Brent from Action Sports Jacks sent you.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. Come meet Shaquem Griffin and hear his inspirational story during a community event presented by Brooks Rehabilitation. Saturday, February 9th on the Flex Field at Daly's Place. Shaquem Griffin of the Seattle Seahawks will be in Jacksonville. The former UCF football star made history last year when he became the first one-handed player to be drafted to the NFL. Doors open at 10 a.m. on February 9th. This community event features exhibits and demonstrations, followed by a conversation with Shaquem Griffin. Register now at brookscelebrate.org.
Hi, everyone. This is Allie McNeil from the Best Bet Poker Rooms in Jacksonville and Orange Park. WPT Deep Stacks returns to Jacksonville March 1st. The series features 12 total events with the main event guaranteeing over $300,000. Satellite into the $1,500 main event for as little as $85. Pick up all the bragging rights and cash. Plus, make your claim to fame in this year's WPT Deep Stack Series. Satellites run now through March 9th. For all tournament information, visit them on the web at bestbetjacks.com.
Before the surgery, there's a lot of pain. Every time I would swim in a swim meet or any type of race or anything, I was like hunched over in pain.
Stetson Lane talks about her experience with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
And then after the surgery, I'm back to doing everything I used to do, and so I feel great now. I would definitely go back to Southeast Orthopedic. They really made me feel like I was welcomed and at home.
Get your body moving again with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Find out more at se-ortho.com.
From the NBA to the NFL, we've got you covered. The worldwide leader in sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
What's up, Jags Nation? It's Mike Golick Jr. from Golick and Wingo. It's Action Sports Jacks with our friend Brent Martineau on ESPN 690.
Hey, welcome back on a Friday. How about a little balling and falling to get you rolling into the 4:30 part of your day. Hope you're having a good work day. Hope you're having a good week and heading to the weekend in style. Should be a good one. First weekend without football from the NFL, which usually carries some withdrawal for many folks. Not it. We got baseball and softball in my house, and that's fine.
All good.
So I'm fine. How about a little balling and falling? I'll begin with some balling.
Hopefully you don't take mine.
The Clemson Board of Trustees on Friday approved $150,000 raises for Elliott Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott now make $1 million annually as co-offensive coordinators under Dabo Swinney. I mean, these guys, Venables, and I mean, so he makes $2.2 million, Brent Venables, as an assistant. Why go anywhere else? Why even try to be a head coach? Just sit under a legend in the making like Dabo Swinney and earn $1 million, $2 million. I mean, the dollars in college football, good for them. Balling. They are balling all the way to the bank. But I think it's dangerous. I've long said this is going to hit a point where we get to like the housing market of 2008. I mean, it's going to hit a point where it's not healthy.
Bubble's going to burst.
But that being said, I think every school in the SEC this year got $43 million from the TV deal, and it must be healthy. I don't love all the money attached to it. I think it's just too much. It's out of control, paying the coaches what they're paying them. But for those families, and right now it's a product that everybody's tuned into. The ratings are great for the Final Four. It's hard to argue against. People talk about it so much.
Well, we're talking about these big contracts and whatnot. If they keep this up, we're going to be talking a lot more about players getting paid as well.
Well, and that's really the division is, okay, you can pay assistant coaches $1 million, but you can't afford $150 a week to a player or $250 or whatever it might be. I mean, how do you figure it out? And that money already, see, from the football people, that money already spills out all across the entire athletic office and athletic sports, all of them, because football makes so much. And that would probably even have to make money to spread to all the other athletes, too.
Of course.
From tennis players to it's a very
it's a complicated
I'm not
saying
deal.
that I'm all for that. I'm just saying, I mean, those conversations are going to happen.
It's a complicated
if these
deal.
big contracts start coming up with the coaches.
And I'm not fully against it. I think the best example are these big-time quarterbacks, especially, or big-time studs. But I always go back to Tim Tebow. I mean, the amount of money that Florida made off Tim Tebow in those 4 years, they're still making money off Tim Tebow.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because of his likeness and he's a Gator, and I mean that's just the way it goes. It's part of the system. But now that the dollars are so heavily involved, we'll hit some kind of snag somewhere along the way. I don't know where it is.
Yeah, it'll definitely be still in the conversation. I'm glad you didn't take my balling. Rajon Rondo, man, you gotta give him some props.
That was an easy one.
Hitting the absolute, I know this is kind of a layup, right? Hitting the absolute
Actually,
dagger.
it was about a 12-foot jumper.
Yeah.
I almost made the same joke.
Hitting the absolute dagger against the Boston Celtics in Boston. Starting to have fans question in Boston, when's baseball season? Because Celtics not looking too hot right now. And shout out to Rajon Rondo, obviously. He hit the game winner. He spent some time in Boston. And I understand the big three had a lot to do with the Boston winning that championship. But if you watch Game 6, and Phil Jackson even says this, Rajon Rondo won him that championship in Game 6. So props to him, still doing the dang thing. From all the gauges, he seems like a really great teammate. LeBron loves him. I think all the Lakers love him. You saw the reaction after he scored the bucket. Pretty cool to see.
Didn't KG, Kuz, did you see this? Did KG wear like a Rondo jersey, a number, like number 9, I think? I think he was at the game last night. Did I see that on social media correctly?
I hadn't seen anything about that. That's interesting because there was always like beef between those guys for a while.
Well, I know Ray Allen.
Obviously
still on the outside looking in. Maybe someone was cracking a joke and I took it as serious. I don't know. But they did say that about Rondo. I thought Luke Walton's comments after the game were really interesting. He's like, hey, this place means a lot to him still.
Yeah.
You could feel it for him to do it. It's good for our organization. We got the win. But you could tell. He said he had his son out there before the game.
He was there.
And
in a Rondo jersey.
KG was there in a Rondo jersey. Rondo, for those couple of years, man, Rondo had come out of nowhere and been just this superstar.
And he had a little, Kuz, maybe you can help me if I misspeak here, but he had a little controversy too, I think, in Dallas, right? Where he wasn't getting along with the coaching staff and whatnot.
Bad teammate.
In the playoffs, too. He really just decided to check out mid-playoffs. It was awful.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's good that he kind of turned it around. We don't really know what happened there. It's hard to speak on, but it's good to see him having success in L.A.
Hey, where are the Lakers right now that they've kept everybody? That's a big win for them from a psychological standpoint, don't you think?
Well, I also think the team, because, you saw that picture of LeBron on the bench and everything. I think the, rumors of, hey, this whole team might be traded by the end of the next day
was really getting to the younger guys. So I think now that they know they're going to be in LA, they're in for the long haul, at least for this season. They're going to start playing a little better, and I think we saw that at least against Boston.
Yeah, it's interesting soap opera to watch out there in Los Angeles in how this all comes together, if they can make a playoff push now that everybody's on it. You think they'll get in the playoffs?
It'll be, I don't know. It's hard to say LeBron won't make it to the playoffs,
Yeah,
and that's where I'm at
Boy,
with it.
that would be awful for the NBA.
Yeah. I don't know. Like the debate is, a big talk now is like, are we worried about what LeBron's doing now, or are we so intrigued by these new super teams in the East that we want to look at that right now? Like, there's a lot of weird angles people are taking on it and kind of writing LeBron off, but that kind of happened a lot with the Cavs, where it was like, they're kind of underperforming, and then All-Star break hits, and then it goes full-on, here we are mode.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he can stay healthy, he's definitely making the playoffs. There's no way the Lakers aren't going to be in the playoffs.
It would be hard for him not to, you'd think. But we're on the outside looking in right now. That's ball, and we have Fallen coming up. And I do want to ask you a question about LeBron. He recently came out and said, I don't need to accomplish anything more. I'm not chasing anything. You agree with him or not? Next on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and don't look now, but the Philadelphia 76ers have won out at the trade deadline. It was just a few years back, the team was asking folks to trust the process. Now they're loaded.
On paper, second best starting lineup in the NBA besides Golden State, there's no question. But it's also, they now have depth in addition to adding another guy that you can run your offense through offensively, and a perfect fit playing off of Simmons and Embiid.
ESPN's Tim Legler right there. As far as the biggest loser at the deadline, looking like the Lakers had the roughest go of it. Not only did they miss out on Anthony Davis, but they involved their young core of players in constant trade rumors and created a lot of locker room tension. And this weekend is the inaugural weekend for the Alliance of American Football. It's one of a few spin-off football leagues that'll be popping up over the next few years. This is the one headed up by Bill Polian and Dick Ebersol. It features 8 teams, including an Orlando squad coached by the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Listen anytime, day or night, by streaming us live at ESPN690.com.
Want to put more presidents back in your pocket? Then get to the President's Day sale going on now at Arlington Toyota. Arlington Toyota has over 1,000 vehicles on the lot every day, and every single one of them is discounted with big-time President's Day savings. And talk about saving some presidents. During the President's Day sale at Arlington, you can buy a 2019 Corolla LE from just $14,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Corolla LE from just $14,888. And when you want a crossover SUV with some serious style, you got to get a Highlander. And right now, during the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, you can buy a 2019 Toyota Highlander from just $28,988. That's a pre-owned 2019 Highlander from just $28,988. Arlington is all about putting you behind the wheel, and that includes their new free iPreCheck service, powered by TransUnion. The easy way to check your credit without affecting your credit score. No Social Security number required. It's the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, but it won't last long, so hurry. Shop today in person at 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
Hey, it's Bill with Bill Fenwick Plumbing. You know the moment when your pipes have sprung a leak and there's water everywhere, or you wake up one of those few cold mornings and you find out the hard way that you have no hot water. Call us, Bill Fenwick Plumbing, for those unexpected moments that threaten to ruin your day. We know you're busy and we want to help you get back to your normal schedule as soon as you can. So next time you have one of those moments, call us or go to our website, BillFenwickPlumbing.com. We're here to help.
Peace of mind. It's one of the most important things we can have, and sometimes the most elusive. I'm Eli Anajar from the Law Offices of Anajar and Levine. If you've been injured as a result of someone else's negligence, call the Law Offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000.
Office in Jacksonville. From Daytona Beach to Brunswick, now ESPN can be heard loud and clear everywhere on one of the most powerful AM radio stations in Florida. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Hey, hope you're digging the new podcast out. Justin Kuzart working hard on that. Kuz got it up and running, and it's active. It's alive. It's on fire. Check out all the shows if you missed any of them. And that includes our conversation with Shaquem Griffin earlier in the week. And Shaquem will be at the Flex Field at Daly's Place tomorrow morning for an event between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. I'll be over there moderating that along with Shaquem. Looking forward to it. Has had a lot
a lot of requests about it, a lot of information asked about it. I think it's going to be a big turnout. They've actually made the venue even bigger than they initially did. You can go to brookscelebrate.org to check that out if you want to be a part of it. I know the VIP and meet and greet is already sold out, but you can still be a part of the audience and ask some questions. I'll have my own questions, but then we'll also ask some questions of Shaquem from the audience, too. So check it out tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., brookscelebrate.org, presented by Brooks Rehabilitation, and it should be a lot of fun in the morning. And by the way, if you can't get there tomorrow night on Action Sports Jax primetime, 10:30 on Fox 30, 11:30 on CBS 47, we will have a conversation or more of that conversation with Shaquem. So a lot to get to this weekend. We'll get the weekend off to a good start with that fine young man that we had on the radio earlier in the week. And again, you can check out that interview on the podcast, Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. And it's all over the place, Kuz, right? Like Spotify and iTunes and Google Play and wherever else. I mean, there are so many platforms.
Yeah.
Tune in, right? Is that a podcast destination too?
Yes.
It is, okay. Hey, I learn something new every day.
Fair enough.
Another platform every day.
They yelled at us the other day.
Did they?
They're like, you guys are uploading some pretty long episodes. Are you sure this is what you're trying to do? And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
What we're trying to do.
We had a lot of requests for the podcast, and so I have no idea if people are listening on there yet. But
a few definitely on Spotify. That's the one that I can see the
You can
numbers just
monitor
off
right
the
now?
rip. Yeah.
Do we have any like the 5-star ratings yet or anything or not?
So that's actually a key thing in getting placement in iTunes specifically. If there are people listening, this is what we need is in the first 25 days, if we get 25 5-star reviews, they'll put us on the front page and we'll be like new and noteworthy. So
really,
the reviews.
What the heck? Why are you just telling me this now?
I didn't think about it until just now.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean,
Call the friends and relatives.
I know, true.
Pay people.
But then,
Let's
but then I
go.
feel like we're gonna be like a bunch of millennials, like making like YouTube videos, like call and subscribe, subscribe to the podcast. Yeah,
Hey, whatever works, man.
Yeah, whatever's paying the
And
bills.
whatever
I
sometimes
understand it.
does work.
Whatever's paying the bills.
We got a lot of catching up to do to get to Stugotz and Dan Le Batard
Good
show.
point.
I mean, their podcast is number one at like
Number
90 million
one.
people.
Yeah.
So we got some catching up to do.
Yeah.
Gotta start somewhere.
We got to
If we
get
keep
on
talking wrestling, I think we're gonna get there.
Yeah, new and noteworthy. Is that what we want to be on? You said
New and noteworthy, which is
Yeah.
essentially the front page of iTunes podcast app.
All right, good
All right.
deal. Let's keep firing away.
It's gonna be a good goal.
Speaking of, you can always interact with us online, which is a cool way to do it now. Or you can also call the number 904-362-9901, 362-9901 if you want to talk anything on a Friday. But usually we're talking some football topics. We're talking balling and falling right now. We gave you the ball, and what about the falling, Austin
So I'm
Lane?
gonna be honest. I was in such a good mood last night when I was thinking of my topics. Kenny Omega signed and everything like that, and just I was in a good mood. So I'm doing balling and balling, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Cool. Is that okay with you?
That's redefining
I'll allow
the
it.
topic.
All
but
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like I had to hit Rondo up, and I have to hit this next guy up too as well.
Okay.
So ballin', Derek Townsend. So this guy, I'm going to kind of set the scene here. What happened last night? So last night I was kind of flipping through channels, didn't really see anything good on. I ended up going to the Titan Games, which is it's a thing on NBC.
Yeah.
Kind of like American Ninja Warrior a little bit. They're trying to see like who the fittest person is. Basically,
Yeah, The Rock's hosting it,
The
right?
Rock's hosting it. Yeah.
I mean, it's not the wrong network, but it's okay.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, sorry to give them promotion, but
No,
anyways,
I'm kidding.
so I'm flipping through, and it's about halfway through the show, and I see a guy that looks familiar to me, and it happened to be Derek Townsend. Was my former teammate back at Murray State. Ended up spending some time in Houston, playing wide receiver, and he was on the show. And he actually won his round, and he actually won 2 rounds. So he ended up going on to the semifinals now or whatever like that, but put on a great performance. His story is one that's really cool because obviously he played football, was a big football player, gave it all up and became like this master yoga teacher. So now he's on internet, he's on like Instagram and on Twitter and stuff doing all this yoga stuff. So good for him, man. It's cool. It's cool to see. It was a complete surprise.
That is cool. Is the show good?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy because like they're trying to say who's the strongest, who's the fittest, but like they have him do like a bunch of like crazy things like you would see like at like a McDonald's playpen. It's just like some of the things I don't know if they really say like you're the strongest or fittest, but hey, Derek won, man. So I'm cheering for him. The whole thing.
This all stems from American Gladiators back in the day.
Of course.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, it's amazing how these shows have taken off from the kind of the root of it all was probably American Gladiators, which was a good
I would
show.
say so. Yeah.
That was fun. But You just said something, trying to find the strongest. What would you do to find the strongest guy? I mean, like, is it bench press? Is it lifting a log? Is it...
It's so subjective because, even in the NFL Combine, like the bench press is so considered, like a big thing. Well, I was teammates with Stephen Paya. Stephen Paya has the record right now for most reps at 225. I think it's like 50-something, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's not like, and nothing against Steven. Steven's a great player, but I wouldn't consider him the best defensive tackle.
Yeah.
So.
Or maybe not even the strongest.
Yeah.
Because they used to say, like, Phil Hansen. I think Phil Hansen? Or is that the Hansen Brothers movie I'm talking about? No, Phil Hansen, the former Buffalo Bill guy.
Okay.
I think he was from, like, North Dakota or one of those places, or Nebraska. And they would just be... he could probably bench like 10 reps.
Yeah.
But he was country strong because he grew up on a farm and he was throwing bales of hay. And so in football, throwing guys out of the way, like throwing bales of hay, was more important than benching.
Exactly.
You're not benching people while you're trying to get to the quarterback.
Exactly. You got to think with the bench press, too, like your hands aren't going to ever be that wide if you're playing defensive tackle or defensive end, where your hands are going to be, wider than your shoulders. Obviously, you want to get tight hands. So, and we can kind of critique this once the combine starts, coming up and everything like that. We'll talk about it more. But as far as like events that would kind of dictate who's the strongest individual, I mean, I have no idea, bro. That's a great question.
Yeah.
It's got to be something where it's like full body. Honestly, I would probably say like who can tread water the longest. Think about treading water using like
tough.
Pretty much like every single body part.
What about like American Ninja Warrior, where they like the entire course is a whole body workout essentially?
True. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's where they find it.
Well, but then you could also argue CrossFit, because CrossFit is completely different. I guarantee CrossFit athletes couldn't do the American Ninja Warrior thing because they weigh too much. So it's tough for debate.
It's tough to cross
Gymnasts, maybe? I don't know. Whatever.
Speaking of, you just mentioned your buddy.
Yeah.
Well, I got a release a couple weeks ago. Angel Villegas, hopefully I'm saying his name right, of Jacksonville, was competing on that show.
Yeah.
Did you see him?
No, I didn't see. So somebody actually hit me up on Twitter and said that. I don't think I saw him, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but, I had no idea.
A 28-year-old barbershop owner in Jacksonville. Doesn't say which one.
Saw him the other day, by the way.
I'll give him free advertising. Raw Cuts is the name of it. So, and he was on the show. So
yeah,
that's cool. Now, listen, like, I would probably make a bigger deal out of that. We're CBS 47 and Fox 30. The show and everything's on NBC.
Yeah.
So I probably would make a bigger deal of it if it was on our network. It's
No,
kind of the way our business works.
I hear you. Sorry for doing that, Brent. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, I don't mind mentioning. I'm just saying I think it's cool to promote the local person and say that, but I'm just saying we didn't really do. I don't know him very much. We probably would have gone and followed him around or tried to do something
but
like
I'll tell
that.
you what's really cool now too is that Kuz can actually go to him and get a haircut instead of going to TJ Maxx or Great Clips wherever he goes right now. Was it Great Clips?
Great Clips.
More like okay kind of clips. Not really great, but okay.
Did you see? I responded. I added TJ Maxx. I said, hair's open for sponsorship.
I saw that. Nicely done. He's learning.
No,
well, listen, we balance it out very well. We push TJ Maxx to cut here, and then we hammer Great Clips right in the same sentence. So, I mean,
I'm just hammering
push them all, and then maybe we get one of them.
Kuz's hair.
Well, the place he gets his haircut is right next to where I go to the gym out by the beach. So I saw him walking in the other day, and I was like, okay.
That's the guy. Okay.
Nice.
Is he a big dude?
Yeah, he was pretty intimidating.
Fair enough.
Fair enough is right. All right, hey, I'm going to do Fallen. A little baseball talk. I mean, we got wrestling in. Why not get a little baseball in? Francisco Lindor, who is an awesome player, going to miss the first couple of months of the season for the Cleveland Indians, who continue to have a very good baseball team. And he is an underrated player in Major League Baseball. Talented, but strained right calf will keep him out for a couple months. I got to think that's the worst, is when you're about to start a season. Obviously, it happens in football all the time, right?
Oh, training camp
First
all the
week of
time.
training camp. Or, man, you gear up all off-season. You do all this off-season work. You get yourself ready. You rest your body. You feel like you're in good shape. The smell of the grass and spring training is about to happen, and you're ready to embark on another big year, you think. You have all these good thoughts in your mind, and then, bam, you got to sit out 2 months. Thankfully, baseball season is so long that even if you miss some time, you can come back. But it's got to be so depressing and tough for an athlete to just, bam, all of a sudden not be able to go when the time really is important.
As a guy who's strained his hamstring his first year here in Jacksonville, it's definitely frustrating in training camp. But do you know what ticks football players off? And I assume it's probably every athlete off more than anything. It's the fact that if you're in training camp and you strain something, and everyone starts to go, oh, well, it's just probably a result because he wasn't, working in the off season.
Yeah.
That's how he got a strain or whatever. Which maybe 5% is the case, but sometimes it's just your body's not ready because there's a difference between training and then practice.
Absolutely.
And you can only simulate it so much. And for the fact that maybe you weren't hydrated, maybe you just didn't stretch out enough. I mean, stretching's a big thing too, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So players absolutely hate it where if you strain something, everyone wants to say, oh, it's from me because he wasn't working hard enough in the offseason.
Especially in football, right? DJ Hayden misses 6 weeks because of a toe.
Yeah.
And we're like, are you kidding? A toe?
Yeah.
Can't you come back?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't care about your head, but you care about your toe?
Yeah,
It's so unfair to the player.
It is.
Marquise Lee.
Mm-hmm.
First 2 years, he'd get calf injuries. Everybody'd be like, really, calf injury? He's soft. He's this. He's that. Albino tiger, right?
Yeah.
Well, he plays 2 years in a row, essentially. Then he gets his knee obliterated in the preseason game, and nobody gives him a hard time for that because it's a tough injury. We all saw it happen. He got carted off the field. It's interesting how we judge football players.
Remind me to share the story one time, but I had a Liz Frank injury in my foot that I ended up playing with the whole season. And
hold on to it. We'll get it when we come back. It's called the tease.
Cool.
Let's do it. We're teasing on ESPN 690. And LeBron, I haven't forgot about you. Yeah, you need to do more. Next.
News 104.5 WOKV is now exclusively on 104.5 FM. News 104.5 WOKV is where you'll find the latest breaking news, First Alert Storm Center coverage, and traffic alerts. 690 is where you'll find the home of the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN 690, featuring Golick and Wingo in the morning, Dan Levitard, and Stephen A. Smith. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
The Medical Group Management Association of Northeast Florida is proud to join forces with the Duval County Medical Society to host its first annual symposium on April 18th. Aimed at helping physicians and practice managers to smoothly operate their practice day-to-day, topics include healthcare trends impacting your practice, stress management and communication, and empathy in the workplace. To register, go to nfmgma.com. That's nfmgma.com. All attendees must be employed by a medical group or practice.
Hi, everyone. This is Allie McDeal from the Best Bet Poker Rooms in Jacksonville and Orange Park. WPT Deep Stacks returns to Jacksonville March 1st. The series features 12 total events with the main event guaranteeing over $300,000. Satellite into the $1,500 main event for as little as $85. Pick up all the bragging rights and cash. Plus, make your claim to fame in this year's WPT Deep Stack Series. Satellites run now through March 9th. For all tournament information, visit them on the web at bestbetjacks.com.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart savings strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council. Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? And now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And the latest breaking news in sports around the clock. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
Hey, it's Trey Wingo from Golick and Wingo. You're listening to Action Sports Jacks with our friend Brett Martineau. We know you're shocked he came off the golf course to actually work, which I respect.
Let's go tee it up, Trey. It's that time of the year. Brett Martineau along with Austin Lane, Justin Kuzart. Kuzman in the house on a Friday afternoon. Hope you're having a good day, everybody, and a safe ride home as you call it a day and a week, most likely, most of you, and head into a good weekend. We hope. Beautiful day in Jacksonville
once again. Always taking your calls, 362-9901. Got some interesting topics that we're going to get to in just a moment here. One, LeBron James says he's really done enough. He doesn't really point to anything else in terms of number of titles and everywhere else he wants to go. We're going to talk about it. Justin Fields, former Georgia Bulldog quarterback, got the waiver. He doesn't have to sit out a year. Transfers to Ohio State, can play right away. Huge news in Columbus and for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They get a 5-star quarterback who wanted out of Georgia and now goes to play for Ryan Day and Ohio State. And we also have our eye on, and this segment's coming up at 5 o'clock, if you couldn't take a quarterback, a wide receiver, a tight end, can't take those three. Maybe they fill the needs in free agency, so it makes no sense at number 7. Where else would you like to see the Jags go? Offensive line, defensive line. Would it be a running back? I highly doubt it. Another one in the top 10. But what would make sense for the Jaguars, even if to your eyes right now, mock drafts that say have Jeffrey Simmons going to the Jags don't seem to make sense to you? So we'll get into that coming up at 5 o'clock. But first things first, LeBron James. I love LeBron James. I don't know if you know this, but I love him a little less because he's wearing a Lakers jersey, so I have a hard time with that. But I do like LeBron James. I think he's, in many respects, the ultimate athlete this day and age. I think he's done a fantastic job of role modeling himself and acting the way someone should. Yeah, does he mess up from time to time? Is he the perfect human being? No, but none of us are. So I have no problems with LeBron James. It was interesting, though, he says this week that he doesn't feel like he has to chase anything else. He's with the Lakers. He'd like to develop them into a winning team. He'd like to bring them along and lead them, of course, to championships. But he doesn't feel the pressure to do so for his legacy or anything else. And LeBron's always has said, while everybody else defines his life as a basketball legacy, he doesn't. For what he does for the kids in Akron and the people in that community is bigger than basketball. That's one of the reasons I really respect him. I think he's genuine about it, too. I think he uses his platform for a lot of different things, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to stack me up against Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, and everybody else. I respect that, but I really didn't like the way he answered that. I don't know if it's more for me or for him that I didn't like the way he answered that. Has he succumbed to the realization that this is going to be such a long process? By the time this does work out, I might be 38, 39 years old and won't be able to deliver a championship. Is he trying to set the expectation bar low, or is he being real and just saying, hey, if we never win another one, I've done enough?
I think he's just trying to keep the media at bay, honestly. Because let's think about it. If you're not chasing something, if you're not motivated by something like a record or a championship, then why are you playing for? The love of the game, I guess, maybe. But, I mean, dude, an NBA season's a long season. It's a tough toll on your body. You have a family. So to sit there and say, yeah, I mean, I'm satisfied, I'm not chasing anything, in my opinion, I think he's lying. I think, obviously, he's trying to get to those championships. He's trying to pass up Jordan. He's trying to be the greatest basketball player of all time. Or else, what is all this whole thing for? What is going to L.A. for? What is trying to recruit Anthony Davis over to L.A. for? Like, it's just, there's something behind this.
Kuz, what do you think about a man, 76ers shirt-wearing guy, producer on a Friday? What do you say about LBJ?
I think L.A. was a life after basketball move, in my opinion.
Which is true.
Yeah, and so, and you said it, I'm wearing a Sixers jersey. Yeah. I would say if he wanted to really make a run at another championship, the Sixers were interested in him, and that was a possibility with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. They thought that was going to be an actual thing for a while there. If he had gone there, that's better chances with that young core than what the young core the Lakers have at the moment. And maybe, someone wants to disagree with me, but I don't think there's going to be many. And so I get where he's coming from in he's already been the most successful that he feels he needs to be. But I agree. If you're not enjoying it or if you're not chasing anything, then what are you doing? You're just collecting a check. And, maybe with the Lakers, he's just, buying some time until he can get some players around him to make a run where he's kind of realized it may not happen this year. But, he's got to want it.
Well, do you think he really wants a young core to work with, though, either? I mean, we saw that in Miami where he was working with vets, and that seemed to pay off well for him. I mean, I think he's at the stage of his career now where I think the last thing he wants to do is try to lead some young guys along and, be the leader per se. I mean, obviously that's why he's a big fan of Rondo. Rondo's a locker room guy. He's been around for a while. That's obviously why they're trying Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis has been in the league a couple years as well. So I think from the perspective of, he probably had a better chance of going to a title this year if you go to Philly. I mean, that looks good on paper, but it's not like Philly. I mean, with Philly's roster right now, they probably have the best starting five in the NBA.
Maybe not the Warriors.
Okay, obviously Golden State, but we'll say top 3. Okay,
best in the East, you could say.
Best in the East, yeah, and that's even beating Milwaukee right now. I feel like
I think the Raptors may push them on that a little bit.
Okay, up for debate.
But my point is that they have all the talent in the world, but they're young. So I don't know if LeBron really want to go to Philly and then not only have to worry about winning in Philly with the roster that they have, but then also trying to wrangle all the players in and try to get the most out of them. Because that's exhausting.
Here's the other thing with that, too, is the other side of going to Philly was that he wouldn't be in the West having to deal with the Rockets and having to deal with the Warriors, the top teams out there, which it's been said many times. Like, the East, maybe not anymore, but the East is usually weaker in terms of competition, and it's a quicker or easier road to at least the finals, where you have to then play, in this case, Golden State.
Absolutely. The West has been like the SEC West in football, but maybe LeBron saw something coming. Philadelphia, Toronto, Boston. Maybe he sees something different, and he might have been right, because now you look at the next 5 years, and the East looks maybe more top-heavy than even the West does. But I think he's trying to set a low bar, because I can't imagine 3 championships is enough for LeBron James.
Can't be.
It can't. I mean, I'm looking at the list, and listen, he's never catching Bill Russell at 11, never catching my man Sam Jones, who lives right here in the Jacksonville area, one of the greatest guys of all time. He has 10 with us. All those Celtics team have so many. But you have Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen with 6. He probably can't even catch those guys. But then Magic and Rodman and players like that have 5. And Shaq has 4. Mm-hmm. It feels like there's a separation once you get over 3. Yeah. In my mind. I don't know if that's real or not. I might be making that up. But I can't imagine that doesn't drive him still to say, hey, I got to get up that board a little bit. It's the only thing I'm missing. I'm one of the greatest players of all time, but they'll never look at me as good as Michael Jordan if I have 3 championships. Maybe if I went to 14 finals and end up with 4 or 5 championships, they might say so.
Especially if I haven't been to so many finals and, kind of coming up short every single time, too. I mean,
But he shouldn't even have been in the finals some of those years, and some people know that and realize that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. No matter what happens with LeBron James in his career, whenever a debate comes of him being the best, it will always be how many times did he go and how many times did he not, win it all.
Yeah, and that's it. And by the way, I hated the move to L.A. I understand the business stuff, the Shaq stuff, all that. I get it. But you don't have to do that this stage. You don't have to be you're LeBron. You're global. You live on jets. You can do anything you want. Yeah, people will come to you. He did not have to do that. So he could have gone to Philly, or he could have been in a better situation. I don't buy that part of it. I do buy the fact I think that entered the equation. And also playing for a prestigious team like the Lakers. One of those teams that have just been around for decades and decades and has all the banners and other great players. I think that did intrigue him too. But he didn't have to do this to run a successful business for the rest of his life and make documentaries out of people. I think he's making a documentary out of Muhammad Ali, like his production group. He did not have to be in L.A. for all that to happen. I just don't believe it. I don't buy that. And that was part of the equation for so many, but he would not have had to have done that, LeBron James. So, hey, LeBron, I love you, man, but my message is you need more titles. Now, I'm a little torn because I don't want to see the Lakers win titles. They're kind of like the Yankees to me. Mm-hmm. I don't like the Lakers. But right now, I kind of don't like the Warriors more than anybody, so I might not even mind LeBron and the Lakers winning.
Yeah.
You a Warrior fan or no?
I am.
You
Absolutely.
don't mind?
I think they're great for basketball.
You do?
Yeah, because people love to root against a villain, and it's like I said before, they built in the draft and they add pieces as they went. It wasn't like there's some super team off the get-go. A good general manager, a great coach, great drafting, and then bringing in some other pieces. It's a good combination.
Justin Fields is cleared. He'll play at Ohio State.
That coming up. Plus, who would you pick if it wasn't a quarterback, wide receiver, or a tight end of that first pick for the Jags? Next on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and now that the NBA trade deadline is done, we can leave poor Kyrie Irving alone, right? At least for a few months. That's when the Celtics all-star guard becomes a free agent. According to his boss, Danny Ainge, Irving's a lock to stay with Boston, but ESPN's Stephen A. Smith says there might be some trouble brewing.
This is his franchise, and I think what's happening right now to Boston is problematic. Last night, for example, from what I was told by sources inside that locker room, you had people that were very upset because Terry Rozier was balling last night. He had to come out late in the game because Kyrie Irving was brought in there.
Meanwhile, the dust has settled in all the deadline action from this past week, and it seems like the Philadelphia 76ers may have walked away the winners between getting Tobias Harris and earlier in the season landing Jimmy Butler. It looks like Philly's going all in on a win-now mentality. This weekend, the Gators take on the number 1 ranked Volunteers in Tennessee, while the 22nd ranked Seminoles are home against the 16th ranked Louisville Cardinals. Listen anytime, day or night, by streaming us live at ESPN690.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau of Action Sports Jacks, and if you're considering buying a new car, I want you to go talk to my good friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. They have raised the bar for customer service, and you'll be happy you went to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Their no-risk, no-pressure approach really sets them apart. Imagine buying a new Hyundai Santa Fe, but then thinking to yourself, maybe we don't need that much room in the family. Well, you could buy that new slick Hyundai Accent instead. And with Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville's no-risk, no-pressure approach, you could bring that Santa Fe back to the dealership in the first 7 days for your money back. No pressure whatsoever. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville also offers a lifetime warranty that is good anywhere in the United States. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. Do what my family did. Get a Hyundai and get it from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Go check out the showroom and visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com.
Edible underpants, never classy. Edible arrangements, always classy. It's easy to make a big impression this Valentine's Day with the freshest fruit and the finest chocolate from Edible Arrangements. Don't wait until the last minute. Place your Valentine's Day order by February 10th and save 20% on all pickup orders over $50. Stop by your local Edible Arrangements and experience love at first bite, or order online and have delicious delivered at edible.com.
So now that you've chosen the vanity, paint, and bathroom tile, you still can't decide on the faucet. Let the Home Depot make that easier by saving $10 on the sleek, modern Moen Genta faucet. Right now, it's only $89. How's that for easy choices? The Moen Genta faucet. Now, just $89 during the Winter Kitchen and Bath event at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through March 24th while supplies last.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Right now, Celtics president of basketball operations Danny Ainge said today on 98.5 The Sports Hub he remains confident Kyrie Irving will re-sign with the team should he opt out of his contract this summer. Irving has sounded at times this season like he's committed to staying in Boston, not so much at others. All-NBA center Anthony Davis remaining in New Orleans. Pelicans will allow him to play the rest of the season, then look to move him this summer. Playing him is a risk, but New Orleans has to, explains ESPN's Tim Legler.
You can't tell a guy to sit if he's healthy, ready to play. It doesn't work that way. Now, they can't tell him necessarily how many minutes to play him, and maybe you give him rest on back-to-backs, but you can't just tell Anthony Davis to go away from the team for the last 25 games until you get to the summer. Nobody's going to allow that to happen, so they've put themselves in this position.
Tim Legler, Davis out the last 9 games with an injured finger, expected to return tonight versus Minnesota. 9:30 Eastern, ESPN TV and the ESPN app. Baseball, the Indians' best player, shortstop Francisco Lindor, will miss spring training and perhaps the start of the season due to a strained calf. Cleveland anticipates he'll be sidelined up to 9 weeks.
With the Vivid Seats app, it's easy to find awesome seats to any game. Go to the App Store or Google Play and download the app and enter promo code CHAMPS at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid seat.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Okay, so I have to throw something on here right now.
What you got?
So obviously the past couple of days I've been getting a little more comfortable in my chair. I've been starting to face towards you more, put my feet up a little bit.
You are. You're turning your back on the people.
Oh, sorry about that, people. But, I'm trying to talk to Brent. It's a conversation at the end of the day. So there's a mannequin outside. Well,
terrifying, right?
I thought it was a guy on a ladder, and it looks like he's fixing something on a building outside. So I've been staring at this for like the past hour. I'm like, wow, that guy's really persistent. He must be changing something. So during the show, I'd keep looking over. I'm like, wow, he's still on that ladder. He's still on the ladder. Well, during this last break, I kind of looked a little closer, and it's a mannequin on a ladder. But he's wearing like a business suit and shoes and everything. So I don't know what's going on.
Kuz, is this a WAPE thing?
No, but I'll tell you, so I don't leave here till after WAPE, so it's dark out. One time I parked back there and I didn't know there was a mannequin.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Dude, what's up with the mannequin on the ladder?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Hey, we have security around here. They weren't going to help you with the mannequin probably, huh?
No.
You're a little too far out there.
I mean, it looks like a full-blown person. That's crazy.
You got to take a picture and tweet it out or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Because nobody knows what we're talking about. We don't have a camera out there. Sorry, folks.
Yeah. We need an outside cam.
Yeah, we do.
Don't worry. I'll put on my Twitter here. _train_92. Nice little plug for everybody.
Hey, speaking of plugs, it looks like we got a 5-star rating, right? On the podcast?
That may have been me.
Oh, that was you?
I did do one.
I thought someone else tweeted at it and said that, or maybe they were just sharing that they saw it. But either way, go to the podcast, right? It's Spotify,
iTunes, wherever.
You got to give us a 5-star rating.
Yeah, 5 stars specifically on iTunes. Everywhere else, just give us a follow, subscribe, so you get a notification when we put out the new episodes.
We'll pay you in mentions. That's our plan, at least. We'll try to do it. All right, we've got to get to Justin Fields, but we also didn't get to story time.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about injuries. Remember, it was like toes and soft tissue issues.
So I had the Liz Frank.
Like the way we perceive football players, you guys are so tough. And so if you have like a calf injury, like, come on, dude, get out there. Like hamstring injury, Leonard Fournette, come on, man. What takes a lot? DJ Hayden, you got a toe injury? Really? I mean, I went to work with a toe injury today. Why can't you?
Yeah.
That's the way people look at it. But if you get your like knee obliterated, it's like, oh my gosh, I'd never want to play that sport. Like, you get that one.
So I ran into the issue where I had a Liz Frank injury. Do you know what a Liz Frank is?
Well, I know because Maurice Jones-Drew had it.
It's a serious thing.
It's a serious injury. But is it like plantar fasciitis in any way?
Not so.
Which is the greatest injury name of all time, plantar fasciitis.
Exactly, but like, Liz Frank is not an intimidating sounding injury. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I tell my friends I have a Liz Frank, they're like, oh, you're a pansy, basically.
Yeah, she's a bad person, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Liz.
Yeah, that's what my whiteboard said. Anyway, so a Liz Frank injury, basically, it's like you tear the ligaments in the top of your foot. So if you're driving or if you're at home, if you put your hand flat down, imagine like that ligament between your middle knuckle and like your ring finger. And now imagine like putting all your weight down on it. So basically what happens if you tear your Liz Frank is that the bones in your foot separate because there's nothing holding them together. So they separate. So it's almost like your foot splits in half. So I did that going into training camp my third season in Jacksonville. And usually with that, especially playing playing any position really, it's not an injury that you really want to play with because obviously playing defensive line, it's all about your get off, it's all about your footwork. So I was out for training camp, missed the whole preseason. I had the option to either get surgery or just sit out the whole season, go on IR or play. Well, the previous season, I had a shoulder surgery after my 6th game where I tore my labrum. My shoulder just kept popping out, couldn't play anymore. So being on IR is one of the worst things ever because people think, oh, well, he's on IR, he's still getting paid. Yeah, I'm still getting paid. But imagine like you're going to the stadium every single day, but you're not part of the team. You can't sit in team meetings. You can't watch any film. You literally just go to the trainers. You have to go home. So it's kind of a lonely state of affairs there.
Why is that? Why can't you go to team meetings?
Because you're not officially on the roster, I guess.
Okay.
So honestly, I didn't want to go through that again. So I ended up playing with the Liz Frank. Well, the way they had to tape my foot was, and you know Joe Cullen, my defensive line coach. So Joe Cullen's all about being on time. He's all about being to your meetings. I had to leave a meeting every single day 10 minutes early just so I could get a tape job on my foot because it was that intricate. So the tape job on my foot took about 20 minutes to tape up. And then what else they would do, they put 2 carbon fiber plates in the bottom of my cleat, so my foot couldn't flex at all. So dude, it was
it's just stiff then.
Yeah, I mean basically it was stiff. Yeah, so people were always wondering like, well, why is he only playing on first, second down? Like, why wouldn't they let him rush the passer? Literally because I couldn't. Because
you can't plant around the edge.
Because I couldn't plant around the edge, and obviously being a pass rusher, the biggest thing is turning your hips and planting your foot. I could not do that at all. So I was only featured pretty much in the run game my third year. It was
that a bad decision? Should you have had surgery?
No, I don't regret it at all. And honestly, so towards the end of the season, when they're looking at it, like, you know what, you don't even need surgery. Like, just let it heal on its own. So I was probably out for about 2 months after the season. I had to relearn how to run though, because once I took like all the tape and my cleats and everything off, and it was healed, I was so unbalanced that I had to learn how to run again. Wow. So and actually during the season too, I mean I could go on forever, but so with the tape job that they put in and then the plates in my foot, I actually got like a little stress reaction, which is a sort of a stress fracture in the other side of my foot because it was overcompensating. So dude, it was a nightmare. Long story short,
it sounds like it. You know, you play through some of those things. You just have to. That's a pain tolerance deal, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
Maurice Jones-Drew, I think, credits that Liz Frank as pretty much ending his career.
We actually had it the very same season.
You did?
Yeah. So we had it together.
Yeah. And so that's for a running back. I mean, that's probably the end of it. And I think that's what he says kind of made things go downhill faster, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I've heard him say that. But we got to talk about the bloody toe.
Oh,
like you were telling me, like, you get your toes get stepped on.
Yeah,
nonstop when you're in the trenches.
So in our conversation during the break, I was showing you my finger that I broke during football. Obviously, I mean, fingers are a pretty common thing.
I feel just as tough. I broke my finger sliding into first base.
My
one
man,
time.
there we go. Hey, see, we got something in common.
I went 2 for 3 the next day anyway. Tough son of a gun.
But what people fail to realize is that your toes take a beating too. Obviously, playing in the trenches as an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. So during training camp, I averaged missing about 2 of my toenails per training camp. You know, where you get stepped on, obviously, then it gets black.
Good average.
Yeah, but make no mistake, man, like, it hurts. Like, you can kind of feel your heartbeat in your toes. So when I first did it my first couple years, I didn't say anything because it's a toenail. It's going to fall off. It's black and blue, and then it just pops off. It is what it is.
It's gross.
It's gross, and it's a sad state of affairs.
And it probably hurts like a son of a gun.
It does suck, man, especially, wearing cleats and having to perform with your feet.
And still get stepped on.
Exactly. So that definitely sucks. But it wasn't until my third year where I think it was Eben Britton actually suggested that, because I'm like, Eben basically stepped on my foot. I'm like, I'm screaming, mother, I'm like, oh, you stepped on my foot. And he's like, well, go see Mike Ryan after practice. I'm like, okay. So I go see the head trainer, Mike Ryan, and I had no idea, but they have this tool where it's like this little stick, and it's got like this little burner at the end of it. It's kind of like a little needle. And you press this button and the needle gets super hot, and then they press the needle into your toenail.
Gosh, it sounds nasty right now.
It sounds painful, but it's not at all, actually. It's relieving. So imagine, like, you can feel your heartbeat in your toenail and everything, and all of a sudden they press this needle down and basically just blood goes squirting everywhere, and it relieves all the pressure. Now, like I said, it doesn't hurt that much, and it's a big relief, but the smell of the toenail burning, Brent, I mean, I'm, like, my mouth's getting watery just thinking about it, man. It's one of the worst smells you're ever going to experience.
I wouldn't even think of that part of it.
Yeah, that's the worst part of it.
Which was from all the blood in there.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Now you know.
Well, hopefully if you're driving home, you're not eating dinner and driving home.
I apologize.
But taking you inside the training room in the NFL.
Yep.
Is that a similar methodology that they use in boxing and all those other things where you might see if it gets all swollen up?
Oh, so if you get swollen up there, obviously they're not going to put a needle or anything to cut. I mean, you've seen Rocky where it's like, Mick, you got to cut me.
Yeah.
Usually they're not going to. Yeah, they're not going to cut you because then you're going to be a bloody mess. So what's used in boxing and in fighting is actually cold steel. So
that's that thing you see.
Yeah, so that's what you see. Yeah. So basically they'll I forgot which way they go, but basically they take this cold steel and they just press as hard as they can and just go away from like where the pressure is, basically, and that helps the swelling.
Wasn't that the Tyson documentary there with
Buster Douglas, where I think Tyson's trainer or corner forgot that. And so when he started getting beat up pretty good, that they couldn't get the swelling down.
Yeah,
I think for whatever reason they forgot to bring. How do you forget to bring that?
Well,
maybe because he probably never really.
It's Mike Tyson. Does he really need that? Yeah, exactly.
I remember them saying something to that effect, that they forgot one of those tools to help the swelling go down in the Mike Tyson documentary when Buster Douglas beat him in the big upset.
And I'm also going to post a picture of this mannequin so people can see at home.
The mannequin is going out on Twitter.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we will talk football. Justin Fields in the 7th overall pick for the Jags. They're not related, but we'll talk both next on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
There are those who play the blues. Then there's Chicago's electric blues legend, the one and only Buddy Guy.
And it goes down.
Saturday, March 23rd at the Florida Theater.
Well, you know it's 9 below 0.
Tickets are on sale now at the box office and at floridatheater.com. Don't miss Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee Buddy Guy.
The iPhone XR is here at T-Mobile, and there's a whole lot to love, like those perfect portrait mode selfies you're going to share.
Nice.
And how Memojis now turn every FaceTime with the kids into fun time. In fact, the only thing you'll love more than your iPhone XR is getting it included in the price when you get an unlimited plan. That's right, get both unlimited and iPhone XR included for just $40 a month. Sure, you can get unlimited somewhere else, but for the same price at T-Mobile, you get unlimited and iPhone XR. Join today and get iPhone XR included with your unlimited plan for just $40 a line for 4 new lines. Call 1-800-T-Mobile or visit a store today.
$30 for essentials plus $10 for iPhone XR with autopay and qualifying trade-ins via 36 bill credits. Customers may notice lower speeds and further reduction if using more than 50 gigs per month. Video at 480p for well-qualified buyers plus taxes and fees. Contact us before canceling or remaining balances due. Qualifying service and finance agreements required. 0 down plus $20.84 per month for 36 months. Full price $749.99, 0% APR.
Hey everybody, it's Brent Martin of Action Sports Jacks here to talk to you about my good friends, the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. They built this new dealership from the ground up, and they did it with you in mind, and it's a beautiful facility. Their focus is getting you into the car you want at an affordable price, and that's where their no-risk, no-pressure approach comes in. If you buy a vehicle from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville and you're not 100% satisfied with your purchase, you can bring the vehicle back within the first 7 days for your money back. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. You can drive a Hyundai. Put a Hyundai in your family like we have in our family. And take it from me, my friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville will treat you right. Go check out the showroom. Visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with the Jenkins exclusive lifetime warranty. Make sure you tell them Brent from Action Sports Jacks sent you.
From the NBA to the NFL, we've got you covered. The worldwide leader in sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
This is Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau
on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
You know, it's a random question I have for you, but it's been kind of eating at me.
Sorry.
Martineau. Is that French?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, like, the way it's spelled, you know?
Yeah, but you know what? People ask me that all the time. Yes, French, right?
Okay.
So it makes EAU, Martineau, right?
Yeah.
So the answer to that is yes. On my dad's side is French.
Okay.
But really, for me growing up, I am way more Italian and Irish.
Gotcha.
My mom's maiden name is McPeak.
Okay.
And I have 2 redhead kids.
Yeah.
And it came from that side. My mom had 6 brothers and sisters, all redheads at one time.
Mm-hmm.
I think when they were growing up, my one aunt, you say aunt, I say aunt, has 7 kids, all redheads.
Whew.
And so, like, we were, like, surprised when the kids were born and they had red hair.
Yeah.
But I don't know why we were surprised.
Yeah.
But, well, partly we were surprised because the first month Kaylee was born, she had a lot of hair in jet black.
Okay.
And over the first month, it turned strawberry and auburn and red.
And then
all the spectrums there. Wow.
Ty had he didn't have a lot of hair, so he just had a few pieces of hair, and they were like blonde looking.
Okay.
And then he changed, and all of a sudden, like a month in, we're like, "What is going on here? Like, what is happening?"
Yeah.
And we're not sure we like this.
Yeah.
So it was kind of wild, but so there's big Irish, obviously influence on my family. But like my dad's side, obviously the name comes from my dad's side is French, but his side of the family owned an Italian restaurant, and it was big time Italian.
Okay.
It was so really more Italian and Irish from a heritage standpoint. So
something I wanted to know. Man. I was curious.
Well, when I went down to Louisiana, I thought about adding, like my first shot was in Louisiana, in Alexandria, and I thought about just adding an X to the end of it.
Yeah.
It would fit in perfect.
Yep.
Cajun.
That's the way it goes. One of my biggest tweets I ever had was during the national championship game, Alabama and LSU, because it used to be Go Tigers, and it was GEUAUX or whatever, however you spell it. You know what I'm saying? And LSU had a pretty bad game, so I put no, and I spelled it out like NO, then EUX points. And I guess Alabama fans really took to that a lot, so
they liked it.
Yeah, they loved it.
All right, surprised at all? Justin Fields granted immediate eligibility to play for the Buckeyes. Remember, all these guys are in the transfer portal. He leaves Georgia, goes to Ohio State, and well, Ohio State fills in and gets Dwayne Haskins' replacement. Bam. Just like that, because Justin Fields will be ready. Remember, Tate Martell left to go to Miami and is trying to be able to get eligible and play the same, just like Fields. But this is a big deal for Ryan Day taking over for Urban Meyer to be able to get a quarterback that obviously was a stud coming out of high school. We didn't really see much of him in Athens, what he can deliver because of Jake Fromm, but a big-time get to keep the train rolling for Ohio State.
Without a doubt. And you brought up a good point, too. I was going to ask your opinion. Urban Meyer, is he done? Is he coming? Is he going to do something else?
Well, he's teaching class right now.
Well, yeah. But let's be honest here.
I would say, if you put my life on it, I would say he's not done.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, too.
Yeah, I would say he's not done.
That's
another break in the action for
of course.
Urban.
Pretty standard.
And that's it. So big deal for Justin Fields to get cleared. He doesn't have to sit out the year. And what's going to happen, it's be interesting to see how much the NCAA allows these kind of waivers and to work in the player's benefit. Again, I'm a big believer in the player benefit side of things, but that opens up the door. If you do it a lot, if you allow this kind of stuff, then it does invite the idea of doing it more, and hopefully they can clear through. And then it becomes free agency in football, which I believe it's going to be it's going to be like that eventually. I think it's going to be free agency in football. Hey, you got a little stay in your lane?
Yeah, I got some stay in my lane here. I'll make it fast because we might have a game for you a little bit later here, too, that the folks listening back home can play as well. But stay in your lane, cruise control, Julian Edelman. Did you see that the Ellen interview or the Ellen show?
No, I didn't.
So they ended up shaving his beard. And it went to charity. So $30,000 was donated to charity.
I think Brady shaved his beard, too.
Yeah, for his beard and everything. Hey, as a guy who really doesn't have a price on his beard, but you probably couldn't pay me enough, regardless if it goes to charity or not, I'm giving Julian Edelman some props there because, hey, it was for a good cause. Obviously, he's going to the Hall of Fame one day. So it's cool that he was able to do that as well. I'm just kidding. He's not going to Hall of Fame. I was waiting for your reaction.
I was going to let you go, but no Hall of Fame until at least Jimmy Smith gets in the Hall of Fame. Okay,
fair enough with that. I agree with that.
And Jimmy's in a line behind Baselli and probably Fred Taylor.
Yep. Pump the brakes. Not sure how we missed this on signing day, but Gavin Potter of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, declared his intention to play in a creative way. Obviously, social media can be your friend. He wore a Texas Tech sweatshirt at the ceremony. He then took the Texas Tech sweatshirt off and revealed a Kansas State shirt. So everyone thought he was going to go to Kansas State. He then took the Kansas State shirt off and was shirtless. And on his, bare chest said KU on the front. And then on the back it had his number and said Go Kansas or whatever on the back. Interesting strategy. Well, it's Kansas football, so let's relax a little bit. That's like saying you're hungry and you want to go to Ruth Chris for a steak, and then you switch it up and say, no, I'm going to go to Capitol Grill instead. You know what? I'm just going to go to McDonald's. I'm going to take the bun off the patty and just have that for my steak. Like, it's Kansas, dude. I mean, come on, man. And especially poking fun at other schools in the conference. Pretty ballsy for a Kansas Jayhawk football player.
I've noticed Austin hates anything that involves shirt coming off.
Yeah.
It is kind of a trend this week.
Well, he's not going to dislike this show when mine comes off.
No, it is a trend, but did you see that? I didn't see that whole thing.
I didn't see it either.
Yeah.
I did not see that.
So,
Listen, that's partly because kids are trying to become more and more creative, and much like commercials during the Super Bowl, they've all been done.
No, for
now
sure.
Now it feels like they've all been done. So how can you kind of one-up it and try it? And
They got to do a gender reveal for it. Somehow figure out, have Blue Cloud come out.
Maybe we've seen it. Maybe somebody's tried it. But I'm sure it's coming. That's the way to do it. To build the suspense, kind of what Elam did too. Went from, it was between Florida and Georgia, and chose the Gators. It's just to at least psych someone out with the initial hat or shirt, and that's what he was going after. But yeah, you're kind of right, Kansas.
Well, who knows?
He only got so much swag going to Kansas. Although Kenny Logan from down in Menendez going to Kansas, maybe they figured out Les Miles is there.
I was going to say they're getting the Mad Hatter too, so maybe that kind of fits right into his scheme there.
All right, hey, you got a little game? No, hold the game.
Hold the game.
Hold the game because I want to get into this in the next few minutes.
Yep.
I'll ask you. We'll reset it. Did at the top of the show. Who was it? Todd McShay has Jeffrey Simmons. Ring the bell. Ring the bell. Jeffrey Simmons, Mississippi State. There we go. That's for the neighbors.
Did I do it right?
I don't know. You have to ask them.
I ask it every single time. I don't know.
Jeffrey Simmons mocked at number 7 to the Jaguars. And we've seen defensive linemen mocked. I think we've seen Simmons. We've also seen some offensive linemen. We've seen some people say, what? Really? No. QB, tight end, wide receiver. That's what this team needs. But if you can't take that, if they go get Nick Foles, and that means, well, then they're not going to draft a young guy. If they go pick up a wide receiver and a tight end free agency, because really the wide receivers in free agency are probably not worth the 7th overall pick in this draft, then where else do they go?
Well, who knows?
So is it that far-fetched to have a defensive lineman or a pass rusher as part of the play at number 7?
Especially if we trade Jalen Ramsey straight up for Antonio Brown like the NFL Network's talking about. Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. But is it far-fetched? Seriously. Okay, we think they're keeping – what if they keep Jeremy Parnell? Do you need a backup swing tackle of some kind, or do you need a backup right tackle to draft at number 7 when you might have a chance to get – the 4th or 5th best player in the entire draft, and a guy like Simmons, or name your other defensive front 7 kind of guy?
So we don't know if they're going to keep Parnell yet or not. They still have to cut a little of the
by the draft.
We
will know.
Yeah, by the draft, obviously we'll know. So we don't know the whole Parnell's situation, and like I've mentioned before, Robinson's knee injury he's coming off of. We don't know how he's feeling right now. We don't know if he's going to be 100% by the start of training camp. So those are 2 big question marks. And then let's go ahead and throw in the fact that they drafted a 3 technique last year to play the exact same position that this dude's trying to play. So I feel like by drafting this guy, it's saying, hey, that draft last year where we got Taven Bryan? Yeah, I guess we kind of messed that one up a little bit because we're going to draft the guy at the exact same spot. I'll tell you right now, unless you plan on switching defenses, you can't play 2-3 techniques. You're going to have a nose someplace. So either Taven Bryan or the guy from Mississippi State who's might be coming in, someone's got to sit on the bench. So what's the plan there?
Well, how important it is to have 8 guys now? That's what everybody's after.
Oh, it's huge. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely big. But I'm saying we don't know if they're going to cut, Malik Jackson and Darius yet. Obviously, Avery Jones has played pretty well since he's been here.
Yeah, I think Avery Jones is sticking around. I think Malik we know is
he's
gone.
A guy that you can afford him, at a pretty low price.
Yeah.
So Avery Jones is definitely going to be here, but he's more of a nose tackle, obviously. But for the fact that we're set at 3 technique. I truly believe that. That's assuming Taven Bryan's going to take the next step. Maybe they feel like he's not a great player. Maybe that's why we're talking about drafting another 3 technique. I don't know about that. But all I know is the fact that we have other needs. And one of those needs is a lot of question marks revolving our offensive line. So if we have to do, like a pick in the first round that's not really sexy, that's not really a skill position, a quarterback, then in my opinion, I guess you got to do offensive line again.
Yeah, because look at the defensive front, okay? You'll have Calais Campbell. You'll have Taven Bryan.
Yeah.
You'll have, I'll give you Marcel Darius. He stays. Marcel Darius and Avery Jones, so you're okay there. And you have Yannick Ngakoue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, Lorente McCray or, start filling up some bodies. Eli Nku.
where you still, to me, to feel really strong, you're still, okay, who's behind Calais? Who's behind or ahead of Brian, depending on how you feel about him? And who's the next guy behind Yannick Ngakoue? And so maybe there's more of a need on that defensive front with what is now an 8-man rotation kind of thing. Everybody across the league tries to do it. It's not just the starters.
No, you're absolutely
really
right.
Want
you need
at least
bodies.
6 or 7,
yes.
And you want 8. Ideally, you have 8. That's how Denver won Super Bowl, with 8.
Well, then bring in a free agent guy or something like that. That's maybe like a low-dollar guy, because I'm telling you right now, if you draft another defensive tackle, especially defensive tackle, not even an edge rusher, that's a luxury. We talked about it earlier this show. We talked about how, the New York Giants kind of set the blueprint for drafted a bunch of defensive linemen. That's great, but they had the offense in place already to do that. The Jaguars don't have the offense to do that. And especially a team, a staff, a management that needs to win this up-and-coming season, needs to win a lot of games. Are you really going to risk it on a 3 technique who might play, I don't know, maybe a quarter of the game, maybe half of the game at the very most?
Sad Jags fan says, oh, well. The only thing they need to pick is an OL, says Trey. A new sport to watch. It says, butt ankle? Seriously, though. OL. Left tackle, wherever is the strongest OL guy available. Best player available, says Tommy. Gregory says defensive tackle. Pass rusher, says Dan. Tom says OL. Daniel, OL or trade back. ATL Gator, OL. And trade out and get more picks, says Fester.
I like it.
That's what we got for now.
I like it a lot.
We got a little game coming up. I have no idea where this is going to go.
We got a little game coming
next
up.
on ESPN 690, plus some hot takes.
Built with the biggest names in sports, all on one radio station. Golic and Wingo, Dan Le Batard, Stephen A. Smith, and Action Sports Jack's Brent Martineau every afternoon. Plus, Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And major breaking news in sports when it happens. Make us your only button for sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. The all-new ESPN 690. ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and now that the NBA trade deadline is done, we can leave poor Kyrie Irving alone, right? At least for a few months. That's when the Celtics all-star guard becomes a free agent. According to his boss, Danny Ainge, Irving's a lock to stay with Boston, but ESPN's Stephen A. Smith says there might be some trouble brewing.
This is his franchise, and I think what's happening right now to Boston is problematic. Last night, for example, from what I was told by sources inside that locker room, you had people that were very upset because Terry Rozier was balling last night. He had to come out late in the game because Kyrie Irving was brought in there.
Meanwhile, the dust has settled on all the deadline action from this past week, and it seems like the Philadelphia 76ers may have walked away the winners between getting Tobias Harris and earlier in the season landing Jimmy Butler. It looks like Philly's going all in on a win-now mentality. This weekend, the Gators take on the #1 ranked Volunteers in Tennessee, while the 22nd ranked Seminoles are home against the 16th ranked Louisville Cardinals. Listen anytime, day or night, by streaming us live at ESPN690.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. If you've received a letter from the IRS and can't pay them, things can get bad quickly. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your wages, and place liens against everything you own. If this is you, contact J. David Tax Law, a local firm right here in Jacksonville. Your first step to stop IRS harassment is a no-cost consultation. They explain exactly your options and how they will resolve your tax issue. Only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you, and fee payment plans are affordable for everyone. Get the protection you deserve. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away. The fastest way to get started is to call 904-507-4777. 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com. The number again, 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. And you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to. Nope. I'm sure you've got a perfectly good excuse. Kids, work. I get it. You're busy. So what better time than now? Let's begin. Raise one finger if you're a man. Ladies, none yet. Oh, count in your head if you're driving. Now, 3 more fingers for everyone over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40, 1 more if you're not physically active, another finger if anyone in your family has type 2 diabetes. Another if you've got high blood pressure. If you're overweight, raise another finger. 2 if you're very overweight. And 3 if you're really overweight. You've just taken the world's first audio pre-diabetes test. And if you're holding up 5 or more fingers, visit doihaveprediabetes.org or talk to your doctor. There's no excuse because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
From Daytona Beach to Brunswick, now ESPN can be heard loud and clear everywhere on one of the most powerful AM radio stations in Florida. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Hey, a half hour to go with us on ESPN 690 here on Action Sports Jax on a Friday. Hope you're having a good work week. Hope you're having a good ride home, everybody. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Justin Kuzart, Kuzman in the house. Hope you guys have a good weekend coming up. Busy one. Fight camp about to kick in big time.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty much already underway.
It's underway.
Yeah. Yep, training twice a day now and everything, you know, up in the output and everything, up in the calorie intake, upping everything, basically.
Yeah. Well, you look a little angrier already.
I know, you can start telling, right?
Yeah.
I start getting that mindset. Hey,
mean.
just wait till it's like fight weekend. It's actually the week before the fight. Yeah, you're going to see a different Austin Lane in here.
Telling bloody toe stories.
Yep.
Freaking people out.
Yeah. Oh, trust me.
Pictures of mannequins. I mean, Iceman DLG says the toe story was a little much.
Well, hey, I mean, if you guys want the inside access of what goes on in a locker room and whatnot, I'm going to give it to you.
Listen, that's the way it goes. What you got to do. Speaking of, you got a little stay in your lane at 5:30 on a Friday?
I already did stay in your lane.
Oh, we did that already.
Yep.
How about stay in your game?
Thanks for joining. All right, well, so the stay in the game thing, I like that, Brent. Nice transition. Always saving yourself. Well, I thought we were going to talk about the. I mean, hey, are you aware there's a UFC pay-per-view going on this weekend? Because we haven't even mentioned that yet.
We haven't.
Yeah, UFC 234 in Melbourne, Australia.
No, we mentioned it a little bit yesterday because Anderson Silva at the age of 56 is going to fight.
First of all, he's not 56 years old, Brent. That's a little exaggerated. He's 43 years old. Show the man a little respect. So basically, what I did, I kind of broke down a little bit. We're kind of running out of time here, so I'll just give you a little glossary, a little glimpse over of what's going to happen. In the UFC card, we got Israel Adesanya versus Anderson Silva. Stylebender versus Spider. For those of you guys that know, Anderson Silva is one of the greatest fighters of all time. He is 43 years old. Everyone's writing this dude off, saying Stylebender is the next Anderson Silva. He's the up-and-coming guy. They're just giving him Silva on a silver platter. Listen, I get that. I think the last time I checked, Vegas has Adesanya as a minus 545. Which is ridiculous.
That's a heavy favorite.
That's a heavy favorite. But I ask you to think of this. Anderson Silva, he's had 42 fights. In those fights, he's gone 34-8. The only time he's been knocked out was by Chris Weidman, and that was because he kind of got a little cocky and stuck his chin out there, so he had it coming. Anderson Silva has never been knocked out besides that. The only way Stylebender can take Anderson Silva out is with striking, because Stylebender's not going to beat him on the ground. He's not going to take him down. He's not going to do jiu-jitsu because Anderson Silva's got jiu-jitsu. He's from Brazil.
So that's where he's good at, right?
He's got very good jiu-jitsu, as they say in Brazil. So a lot of people are writing this fight off.
Are you picking an upset?
I'm not picking an upset. My head's telling me, obviously, Stylebender, but my heart's telling me Silva. I'm not going to say it's going to be an upset, but I'm saying don't write Silva off, because the only way to beat him is by KOing him, really, because it's going to be a striking showdown. And no one strikes better right now than the Stylebender. You know, I mean, he's got unorthodox stuff. He's got the speed. He's got the swag to him. But don't count on Anderson Silva. That's all I'm going to say.
And that's tomorrow night.
That is tomorrow night. And then the main event I should probably cover too quick is Kelvin Gastelum versus Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker is obviously the champion at 185. I mean, do you know who Robert Whittaker is? Probably not, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah. So he's a guy that's kind of underneath the radar a little bit. Doesn't really talk a lot of smack. He's soft-spoken. He's from Australia. Dude is tough as nails. His last two fights with Yoel Romero, who's one of the the elite fighters in the UFC. His first fight actually tore his MCL in the first round. Ended up beating him.
He won with a torn MCL?
Yeah. Oh, just wait. We're getting started.
Legendary.
The second fight, he broke his hand in the first round and beat him as well. So when it comes to just sheer toughness, Robert Whittaker is a guy to watch, and especially too because his output. The dude's got cardio for days. He probably has, in my opinion, the highest output of any UFC fighter on the roster.
Give me a definition. Output.
So strikes per minute.
Okay.
Robert Whitaker is probably number
I like
one.
that. See, that's a fight I wouldn't mind watching. Then.
Well, and the guy is facing Kelvin Gastelum. So
I don't want to see them hug each other.
Oh, no, they're not going to. No,
go.
for sure. This is going to be a striking duel, too, as well, because Kelvin Gastelum is a guy who is from The Ultimate Fighter. He was the last pick of The Ultimate Fighter, ended up winning the whole show as the last pick. And he was a guy when he first started out that was known for his wrestling pedigree. That's where he got to start from. But he's really developed his boxing, developed his hands the past couple years, and now he's known for his KO power. He clipped Michael Bisping, made it look really easy. So the fact that, you know, we're talking about Gastelum here at the title fight is kind of crazy because when he was 170, nobody gave him the time of day because he couldn't make weight and everything. And people were saying that at 185 it'd be too small. Well, here we are, the championship fight here. Kelvin Gastelum, Robert Whitaker. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a striking clinic. Gastelum doesn't throw a lot of kicks or knees, but he's got a chin. He's got a granite chin. So
granite.
So it's going to be
better than glass.
Better than glass. It's going to be another fun fight to watch.
All right. Hey, I think we got an MMA call on the line.
Oh.
Nick, what's up?
Hey, I've got a question for you guys about fighting. You're talking MMA right now. I'm an Anderson Silva fan from a number of years ago, and I recall, you know, people talking about him being the pound-for-pound best fighter in the UFC. And then there were other fighters that people also said maybe pound-for-pound, but they only fought in one weight class. You know, Anderson Silva would bounce around from 205 to 185. And I think he may have fought at 170 or maybe a catchweight fight. But what do you guys think about fighters, whether it be boxing or MMA, being the pound-for-pound best, or so people claim, if they only fight in one weight class?
All right. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Great question.
No, this is for you, man. I don't have a good thought on it. You know, Mayweather is the guy that they would say, right, pound for pound, you can argue.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, obviously.
And he didn't jump. Did Mayweather jump around?
He might have a little bit earlier in his career, but with Mayweather, though, it's the fact that he's defended the belt so many times that you have to give him the pound for pound. So when it comes to pound for pound, you look for a few things. Obviously, that guy brought up a great point where you can argue, well, if he goes up a weight class or down a weight class. BJ Penn, perfect example. They call him the prodigy. He was kind of the first guy to do that, and for a while was the pound for pound king. This was a kid that he was the first American to get his black belt under the system in Hawaii, which I forgot the name. I'm sorry. But he was also the first guy to win, the first American to win Worlds, and I think the first American to win Abu Dhabi as well in jiu-jitsu. So we're talking about the prodigy. When he was first coming up, I mean, you could argue he's the pound-for-pound guy. As far as moving up and down weight classes in MMA, it's a little different now because everyone's doing it.
Yeah, Dillashaw just tried to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great point.
By the way, that was a nugget of knowledge right there.
Yeah, good call. Dropping it,
I'm learning this stuff.
As far as the pound for pound now, one would argue, you know, Demetrius Johnson because he has defended the belt, you know, the most times. Now I get the point where he hasn't gone up really. He hasn't. I mean, he can't really go down. He's the lightest of the weights, but he can't go up. And I understand that, but it's not his fault that there's not guys at his weight class that can't compete with him. So if we're talking about pound for pound, I mean, you almost got to go Demetrius. Another thing you got to take into account, too, is the steroid factor, especially in MMA. Boxing, it's a little different. But with MMA, yeah, you can call Anderson Silva one of the best pound-for-pound fighters, but guess what? He's been popped for steroids, too. Same thing with John Jones. So you got to ask yourself, does that constitute the pound-for-pound rankings as well? Because, I mean, I think John Jones is, you know, probably the most talented and the best fighter of all time, but he has been popped before.
Yeah.
So.
All right, good perspective on a big weekend MMA as well. What about stay in your game?
So stay in your game. So, you know, we talked about wrestling before and we talked about UFC. Those are kind of my topics of expertise, Brent.
Yeah.
You're starting to learn a little bit, and I appreciate it.
Yeah,
so,
I'm digesting.
So I'm going to quiz you here. I've compiled a list of about 10 names, actually nicknames, of either UFC fighters or wrestlers. I'm going to give you the nickname, and you're going to tell me if they're a UFC fighter or a wrestler.
Okay.
Now, the people at home can play along as well.
Okay, let's do it.
Number 1, The Hugger.
MMA.
Ooh, wrestling, Bailey.
Dang it. 0 for 1.
Hug Life, hashtag Hug Life.
All right, I'm 0 for 1.
0 for 1. Number 2, the Ayatollah Rock and Rolla. Wrestling or MMA?
Didn't they have Ayatollah Rock and Roll? I'm going to go back to MMA.
Oh, that's incorrect. That's wrestling. Chris Jericho, actually. Is
that who Jericho is?
Well, it's one of many. He's got about 10 of them.
Oh, boy.
Show a little respect for
a
all.
lot of rolling eyes out there right now. I didn't get Jericho.
All elite wrestling here. Number 3, the Axe Murderer.
That sounds like wrestling.
That's incorrect. That's UFC. Wanderlei Silva.
0 for 3.
Oh, a little fun story with him, quick. So he actually had his eyebrows, like his bones, shaved down so his eyebrows wouldn't get cut when he fought. He was that intense and that crazy.
That is
Wanderlei
crazy.
Silva. Yes, the ex-murderer. My personal favorite nickname of all time. Number 4, the charismatic enigma. Wrestling or MMA?
Wrestling.
Correct. Jeff Hardy. Good call. We're on the board.
On the board. Put on the board.
All right.
Yes.
Coming in again. Here we got the Barn Cat. Is he a UFC fighter or a wrestler? The Barn Cat.
UFC.
That is correct. Tandem McCory. Good call.
I am on a roll, people.
All right, so you get 3 in a row here. The Rated R Superstar.
That's wrestling.
Good call, Edge. Look at you, man. 4 in a row.
That was a no doubter.
This one might be a little interesting for you. The Dean of Mean.
Dean of Mean. It sounds kind of like a gimmicky wrestling one.
That's actually a gimmicky UFC fighter, Keith Jardine.
Man, streak is over.
Known for KOing Chuck Liddell back in the day. This is my personal favorite of the list, Uncle Creepy. UFC fighter or wrestler? Uncle Creepy.
UFC.
Correct, Ian McCall. We got 2 more. Steve, I just gave it away. Well, maybe not. Wonder Boy.
I feel like we've talked about Wonder Boy already.
Maybe. Wrestler or UFC fighter? Wonder Boy.
Wrestler.
Incorrect. UFC fighter, Stephen Thompson. Dang it. Last one I got for you here, Brent.
And you said you gave it away.
I know.
You could have said Stephen Thompson, man. I have no idea what it is.
Last one, let's go with the Preacher's Daughter. Wrestler or UFC fighter? Incorrect. UFC fighter.
Man, that would have got me to 500.
Holly Holm, she KO'd Ronda Rousey, Brent. Step your game up a little bit.
Is she the Preacher's Daughter?
Preacher's Daughter.
And I should have known that one.
Yeah.
Holly Holm.
Yeah.
I knew that. I knew that MMA fighter or UFC fighter.
Yeah.
4 and 6, by the way, is the record.
Not
Under
that good.
500.
Not that good.
Picking first in next year's fantasy UFC wrestling draft. We'll put a bow on the show with some hot takes. That wasn't it. Next on ESPN 690.
This is Golic and Wingo.
NFL insider Adam Schefter is with us. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Tom Coughlin comes out with this statement. Where do you think this is headed?
They're going to be exploring other avenues, with them being one of the most, if not the most disappointing team in football, starting at the quarterback position. They'll start there, and they'll branch out, and I would expect that they'll obviously discuss the idea of moving on from Leonard Fournette, as they will with other disappointing players there this offseason.
Golic and Wingo, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
I really couldn't play golf. I couldn't even walk very far.
Here's Nancy Anderson to talk about her experience with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
I chose Southeast Orthopedic Specialist because of the reputation of the different surgeons and the hospital experience, and just overall, I'd heard so many great things. And truly, my life is enriched tenfold because now I can do anything.
Get your body moving again with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Find out more at se-ortho.com.
Hey, it's Bill with Bill Fenwick Plumbing. I have yet to meet anyone that has woken up in the morning and said, "Hot dog, today I'm calling a plumber." Usually it's, who am I going to call and can they take care of me today? Yes, we know the stereotype, dirty, smelly, probably late, and more than likely, you don't want him to bend over. If you need a plumber, call Bill Fenwick. See what our Golden Plunger service is all about. Call us or go to BillFenwickPlumbing.com.
Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And the latest breaking news in sports around the clock. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau
on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
I don't know which one's better, stay in your lane or stay in your game.
Hey, I'm glad that actually kind of turned out pretty well.
I liked it. That was fun.
And I should preface that by saying the reason I got the idea was from the Style Bender, obviously, in the UFC fighting this weekend. He had pretty cool nicknames, so I'm like, well, I wonder what kind of nicknames we got out there to quiz you on.
But we were talking, I mean, you might have a fight coming up here sometime in the near future, but you don't get introduced to Austin, the A-Train Lane.
No, you know, I mean.
No nickname. What the heck?
That would make sense, I guess. I don't know. The nicknames aren't, and I told you this before the break, like, a lot of heavyweights don't have nicknames for whatever reason. I mean, there is, like, you know, Alistair, the Reem, Overeem, but that's like all that comes to my head right now. I'm sure there's more. Daniel Cormier's DC, kind of bland.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if that's a nickname. Really.
I know, right? But
it's more like an acronym.
Exactly. So there's not a lot of big guys that got nicknames, I guess. I was thinking about going with American Psycho because that's what my Luke Richardson used to be for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah. They used to call me the American Psycho because I was like a calm, collected guy off the field. But when I got on the field, it was a different story. So they call me the American Psycho, but that's already been done before. Stephan Bonner fought in the UFC for a while, and he was called the American Psycho.
Okay. So, I got you. Yep. All right, some hot takes time. Let's bring Kuz back in. What's up, man? What you got for us?
All right, I got a few pretty much Jags or football-centric ones for you today.
I like it.
Cool.
I think so does everybody else.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's going on with the Bears being compared to the Jaguars, but it's been happening a lot.
Another one.
So we have another one, and it says, which defense was better, the 17 Jags or the 18 Bears? The comment back to that was, I'd say the Jags, but they gave up way too many points in the playoffs.
Well, first of all, keep this in mind about Chicago in that game. Their defense is great. If they want to talk playoffs, sure, you maybe put points because of Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh, they jumped so far out in front in that Pittsburgh game, the Jags did, that Pittsburgh, one was desperate, was going to throw it all over the yard, and then they made incredible plays to even keep that game close in January. Chicago, to me, had the defense on the field with a chance to close out the game, and Nick Foles went down the field and scored on them. The Jags never had that situation. In fact, when the Bills tried to get the ball back, Ramsey picks it off, right?
Yeah.
And the clock ran out basically on Pittsburgh because the Jags had a 10-point lead. They scored a late touchdown, and there was really nothing left other than an onside kick.
Yep.
And then the Patriots game was really about, well, I guess you could put it on 3rd and 18. I'm sorry. You could put it on 3rd and 18. So that was a disappointment from the defense. If they make 3rd and 18, Patriots probably don't win that game. So they do have a role in it, just like the Bears in the postseason had a role in Nick Foles going back down. I would say slam the door shut if you're the best defense in the NFL. But I think I would lean toward the Jags. The points against for Chicago is 17.7, which was best in the National Football League. I don't know. You just put me on the spot, so I don't know where all the numbers compare. I still feel like the Jags defense made more big plays in 2017 than probably the Bears did in 18.
I agree, and that's exactly what I'm going to go with, too. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, obviously, so I'm kind of just going off the top of my dome here. But the way I see it is Jacksonville had a lot more pick sixes, number one. Number two, I mean, if you want to go for pass rush, yeah, obviously you could argue the mayor of Jacksonville and Khalil Mack will probably, they cancel each other out. But then we got Yannick Ngakoue coming off the other side, who I don't think the Bears really had another guy. I mean, they had Floyd, Leonard Floyd, but I would take Yannick all day over him. So as far as defensive line, I'm taking the Jaguars. As far as bailing out the offense, I'm taking the Jaguars because the Bears actually had an offense a little bit where that they could work hand in hand.
No, that year Jags did have a top 10
Jags
offense.
Had Fournette, but I'll take the Bears offense all day. I'll go as much as saying this. I think if that Jaguars defense was on that Bears offense this past year, they'd go to the Super Bowl.
Huh. There's a hot take. What's next?
We might have to flip that around and post it on the ESPN page, see what people think.
Go and do it.
Deal. All right, so the other one was posted by, and this name's great, Wookie Balboa.
Respect.
Gotta say, very clever. It's talking about Kyler Murray. Gosh, I can't say it. NFL insiders saying Kyler Murray's dad is LeVar Ball-esque.
That's a long way to go. I understand that Kyler Murray's dad trained him, coached him up, and also was with him like this Dan Patrick interview, and probably is leading a lot of the advice for Kyler Murray. But there's no way, or I'm not paying attention, he's been nearly as vocal as LeVar Ball.
It's not even close. I mean, if you watch that Dan Patrick interview, they kind of transitioned to his dad, and his dad just kind of put his head down like, hey, don't put me on camera.
He was actually kind of laughing a little bit, right?
Exactly.
Wasn't he chuckling?
Yeah, he's a little embarrassed. Like, LeVar Ball is all about the camera. I mean, he was on WWE last year. Like, the guy's all about the camera. And you know what drives me crazy, Brent, more than anything? The fact that people can't stand, I guess the whole Ball family, but obviously the dad, LeVar Ball, they can't stand him. And you always see people like the talking heads in sports criticizing him. Well, hey, if you don't want him on TV, then don't bring him on your TV shows. Okay? It's the classic T-Rex philosophy. Hey, do you know how you stop a T-Rex from getting you? You don't do anything, Brent. You just stay still. Don't do anything. So if you're sick and tired of LeVar Ball, don't watch him. don't give him the views. If you're sick and tired of him going on your show, well, then don't have him on your show. Simple as that. T-Rex philosophy. Live by it.
Well, it's a good point. LeVar Ball said something outlandish the other day, and I said, we're not doing this. I'm not giving him the time of day.
No, absolutely.
I mean, he was talking. I think I saw some tweet about him saying like Lonzo's already better than LeBron or something like that.
He went on one of the Fox shows or whatever, and he said basically that if if Lonzo leaves, then LeBron will never win a championship.
Yeah. So, and what
Sounds
I said?
good.
I said, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of talking. I agree with you from that sense. I say, then let's not talk about him. If we all know it's kind of BS and it's just a show.
Yeah.
Well, stop putting a camera in front of his face and inviting him on your show.
And at the same token, I mean, props to him for making the money and for branding himself. I mean, hey, he's getting the money, so good for him. But I'm not a fan of it, but he's getting money, so whatever works.
You got another one?
I got one more. We're going back towards, I guess, more football talk.
Okay.
Gonzalez will always have the longevity in favor when you talk about the GOAT tight ends. But Gronk's peak has every other box checked in his favor.
Oh, you said Gonzalez will
Gonzalez,
always have?
yeah.
Wait, so
he's basically saying Gronkowski's better than Gonzalez.
Okay.
Go first.
That's a hard question because Gonzalez had the longevity compared to Gronkowski.
Yeah, and that's what this guy's saying.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm taking Tony Gonzalez all day then. Nothing against Gronk. Gronk is a game changer in the fact that he's a mountain of a man and that you really had to, make an effort to game plan for him. But, I mean, Gonzalez did it on a Kansas City Chiefs team for a long time. He wasn't a partier like Gronk was, so he was more of a guy. He wasn't outspoken, so he kind of flew underneath the radar a little bit. But I think from the skills aspect, you have to go Gonzalez because he was really the first guy who was the basketball player that turned tight end. You know, so he's like really the first NFL athletic tight end to come around, and he did it for how long?
I heard him talking yesterday too. He said a lot of these guys now have the basketball background, not just the ones we know, like Antonio Gates and Julius Thomas, but even like Zach Ertz. I didn't realize he had the background. Kelsey has a basketball background, and I don't know if they were as good at basketball or as high profile in basketball, but they all have that background, and now they're this athletic tight end in the league. And Gronkowski, he mentioned Gronkowski's got a basketball background too.
Makes sense.
But I would say to this question, I'd say Gronk. Because I don't remember a guy that drew so much attention in game plans than Gronkowski in watching football over the last couple of decades. I've seen a lot of good tight ends. I've seen Antonio Gates reminds me a little bit of it, actually. Gates maybe even more so than a Gonzalez. But I think you could match up a guy with Gonzalez. I think you need to match up multiple guys, shift your looks in terms of corners, linebackers, strong safeties against Gronkowski. I think you kind of had to do that a little bit with Antonio Gates, too, except he felt slower to me. I don't know if that's just because he's so old now that he feels slower to me. So, and even Kelsey. Kelsey, I think, might even be more difficult to defend and game plan for than even Tony Gonzalez, which might sound crazy, but he's so open all the time. He runs such good routes. It's a tough matchup for a lot of people, I think. Gonzalez was a tough matchup, but if you're ranking them, I feel like Gronkowski is more difficult than any of them that maybe have ever played.
Who was throwing Tony Gonzalez the footballs the whole time in his career?
Well, did he finish up with Matt Ryan?
I mean, I'm talking about Kansas City, though. Because I can't tell you. Wasn't anybody special.
Alex Smith at times. Did he play with Alex Smith?
Did you play with Gonzalez?
Or did he already go to Atlanta?
He already went to Atlanta. I never played with Gonzalez.
All right. Who would have been before in Kansas City?
That's what I'm saying. We don't know. And that's exactly my point.
It feels like he played so long ago that Joe Montana might have thrown him passes.
Well,
he didn't.
I don't think that was maybe like Matt Castle. I don't know.
It might have been.
Whoever it was. Yeah, whoever it was. If you put Tony Gonzalez
so you're saying
on the
because
Patriots,
of Brady.
Well, it's got to do something with it, Brent. We talk about it all the time on the show, the ability for Brady to elevate any position that that plays with him. At the same time, I mean, if you put Gronk's personality on Tony Gonzalez, maybe we're talking about Tony Gonzalez a lot more. I mean, this is a guy that's was a humble dude, soft-spoken and everything like that. And especially back then where there were some outspoken guys and everything, maybe that had something to do with it as well. But I'm talking just from a pure tight end standpoint, the longevity, the guys that he played with throwing the ball. you got to at least consider the conversation with Tony Gonzalez.
My buddy John Hay just told Trent Green throwing passes to as part of it in Kansas City.
Never heard of him.
Yes, you have. You certainly have.
I'm kidding.
Hey, that's going to do it for a Friday edition of Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. Make sure you check us out all weekend long. Action Sports Jacks primetime on TV, CBS 47 and Fox 30, 10:30 and 11:30 Saturday and Sunday night. Check out the podcast, Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. You can get it and rate it 5 stars. Good work, Coos. Have a good weekend, man. For Austin Lane, I'm Brent Martineau. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody.
Hey everybody, it's Brent Martin of Action Sports Jacks. My good friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville are taking customer service to the next level. Their no-risk, no-pressure approach is incredible. Take it from me, we have a Hyundai in our family, and we couldn't be more impressed with this no-risk, no-pressure approach by Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. We're all human. Sometimes we change our minds. For example, perhaps you buy a new Hyundai Elantra from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville, but then realize, I actually need something with more room to carry the kids to and from practice. Don't worry, because Jenkins Hyundai knows how to handle the situation. If you're not 100% satisfied with the vehicle for any reason, you can bring it back to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville within the first 7 days for your money back. And you can pick up something more roomy, like the new Hyundai Santa Fe. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. Go check out the showroom and visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com and tell them Brent Martineau sent you.
Hi, everyone. This is Allie McNeil from the Best Bet Poker Rooms in Jacksonville and Orange Park. WPT Deep Stacks returns to Jacksonville March 1st. The series features 12 total events with the main event guaranteeing over $300,000. Satellite into the $1,500 main event for as little as $85. Pick up all the bragging rights and cash. Plus, make your claim to fame in this year's WPT Deep Stack Series. Satellites run now through March 9th. For all tournament information, visit them on the web at bestbetjacks.com.
Peace of mind. It's one of the most important things we can have and sometimes the most elusive. I'm Ellie Anajar from the Law Offices of Anajar and Levine. If you've been involved in a hit-and-run accident, call the Law Offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000.
Office in Jacksonville.
Want to put more presidents back in your pocket? Then get to the President's Day sale going on now at Arlington Toyota. Arlington Toyota has over 1,000 vehicles on the lot every day, and every single one of them is discounted with big-time President's Day savings. During the President's Day sale at Arlington, you can buy a 2019 Camry LE from just $19,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Camry LE from just $19,888. Have you seen the 2019 CHR? Well, do more than see it, own it. Because right now, during the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, you can buy a 2019 Toyota CHR from $16,988. That's a pre-owned 2019 Toyota CHR from just $16,988. Arlington is all about putting you behind the wheel, and that includes their new free iPreCheck service, powered by TransUnion. The easy way to check your credit without affecting your credit score. No Social Security number required. It's the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, but it won't last long, so hurry. Shop today in person at 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
Hey, it's Jacksonville's Morning News host Rich Jones. If you're here looking for news, weather, and traffic from News 104.5 WOKV, you need to change your radio preset. We're now only on 104.5 FM. If you're here for all things sports, you are in the right place. This is ESPN 690. Golick and Wingo, Dan Lebitard, Stephen A. Smith, and the home of Action Sports Jacks on the radio. The best news on 104.5 FM, the best sports on 690 AM.